All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast. I believe this is episode 48. Hopefully, the audio is coming through smoothly and everything's okay. I will be going on camera shortly here, but I want to let the credits roll a little bit longer. So, thank you guys so much for being here. I think this is going to be a pretty exciting show. At least that's my hope anyway. We definitely have a few topics to talk about and discuss. So yeah, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Um, but yeah, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button to help the podcast out. Those who are here live, those who will be here later, watching once this is up for everybody to see. So yeah, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of some of the topics that we have to discuss today. But before I do that, I have to give a special shout out to some of my members who are in the Play Has No Limits and Play Has No Limits Plus tier. These are separate member tiers that you can upgrade to if you want as a way to help support me even further. If you are somebody who does really enjoy what I do here on the channel, you enjoy the content, consider becoming a channel member as it really helps out. So big shout out to the Play Has No Plus Limits tier, Junior Jackson, Tam 1982X, D Luffy, Samuel Payne. And we also have the Play Has No Limits tier. So big shout out to Brandon Chad Perez, Matt Wheatley, Alpha Acer, Brittany Goes Meow, Adrian Pollard, Sayin JT, Jeffrey Hicks, Big Norman 0518, Michael Bradley, Tyson Webb 509, MH, Shaky Shako, Ragin Whiskey, Space Gambler Jr., Josh Z, and the Tiger Man Show. Thank you guys so much for upgrading your membership and going above and beyond to support me directly here on the channel. Really do appreciate that. Goes a very long way for me. We have an upgrade from Sir Speaks a Lot. Thank you so much, man. Upgrading to the Play Has No Limits tier. Really appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate your continued support. Look forward to your perks. So shout out to you, Sir Speaks a Lot. We also have Brandon Chad Perez. You're saying, hope you and your family are doing well, man. Nothing but blessings and love your way, especially to the wife and baby. Also, I managed to find another job, not as well paying, but it's something at least. Well, I'm happy to hear that, man. Happy to hear that. It's tough times for a lot of people right now. So the fact you were able to find a job is good news. And we have to try our best to be thankful for what we have. It can be hard sometimes, but we definitely have to try to do our best. So thank you so much, man. And when it comes to the family, I'm happy to let you guys know that it's definitely going much better now than it was before. My wife and son are finally home. I did put that community post out for anybody who was interested. And, it's a far cry where we are now compared to where we were even just a week ago and especially a couple weeks ago. So definitely happy about that. And, the support you guys have shown here really goes a long way. I do appreciate it. We have Sir Speaks a Lot. You're saying Resident Evil may have big mommy milkers. The stuff you make me read, Sir Speaks a Lot. Damn. Saying Resident Evil may have big mommy milkers, but they do not possess the love that I have for MBG feet pics for Valentine's. I hope MBG gives them up. Well, man, you're going to be waiting. I've told you this many times before. The wait is going to be a very long one for you. But thanks for that, Sir Speaks a Lot. You always show up. You're always on point, I guess you could say, with the strange things you have to say on my podcast. Anyway, but yeah, again, thank you guys for the support. It's been a crazy, start to the year so far, but I'm going to give you guys a little rundown on some of the topics that we're going to be discussing in this podcast today. And probably going to be a little bit of ranting. There kind of has to be, considering some of the stuff that has gone on. And so, yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is the power battle that is continuing to rage on between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, because there just seems to be a lot of things always going back and forth. There's been talk with Control and its photo mode. There's the Division 2 And, obviously a lot of Xbox fanboys are having a field day over this. And we definitely got to talk about that. There's still Xbox fans really just still dying on this hill. And, maybe they'll survive on it. I don't know, where they want us to believe no matter what, that the Xbox Series X really is not only the more powerful console, but we're going to see that big difference. And we're already seeing a little glimpse of it now. And frankly, I just find it kind of laughable. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's also something else I have to rant about. And this is probably going to be the first thing I rant about. And that is the fact that I talked about the Division 2, right? And how I made it very clear, because it's not necessary for me to make it very clear. It's more than obvious. The Division 2 on the PlayStation 5, Ubisoft really screwed something up. The game is literally looking better on the PS4 Pro version. So you know that they screwed something up. And I was getting a lot of blowback my way from Xbox fans saying, I didn't see you keeping that same energy with the Xbox Series X. And the fact that, there were other patches for games like Dirt 5 and Assassin's Creed, you could have said the same thing. And it bothers me that this is what people come at me with, where it's like you're missing literally all of the context. If you have any of the context, you would know it was never really about the performance differences or even the visual differences, because as we've already established, the differences between these games and the comparisons are minimal, absolutely minimal. The point was, this was not the way it was supposed to go down. The point was, and still is, it's laughable that the world's most powerful console out of the gate is failing to show any demonstrable difference to the supposedly weaker, console that can't keep up. And not only that, but there are cases where the PS5 is actually, even if it's just by 1% or 5%, if the PS5 has the edge, it's laughable. It's the irony of it all. And that's what people keep coming at me with. Anyway, I see I'm already ranting. We're going to be talking about this idea. I made a video on this yesterday, but I have to talk a little bit more about it. I'm probably not going to spend too much time on it. It really depends. But I have to talk about the idea that the PS5 is a half-baked mess. It's a half-baked mess, apparently. And people are just okay with somebody with a very large audience saying this and barely providing any decent reasoning as to why you could even call a console a half-baked mess. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about the PlayStation 5's price hike for their games, because this seems to be something that a lot of people are still talking about. It's just something that I have to, chime in on once again. Sinosaur, you're saying, what's good, MBG in chat? I had to bow out of the monthly membership due to upcoming responsibilities, but I still support you, MBG. I finally got a PS5 bundle shipping on the 16th. Keep doing what you do. Well, I appreciate that, man. It's no big deal to me. When members have to come and go, I totally understand. Just the fact that anybody is willing to become a member is a really great gesture, and even if it's just for a month, it does help. And I'm glad to hear that you're finally getting your PS5, man. That's something else we're going to discuss as well. That's actually another topic. We have to talk about the idea that the PS5 is getting off to a slow sales start. Now, that may sound bad, but we all know why this is happening. And we're just going to kind of go over what analysts are predicting and what is likely to happen in the coming months. And then finally, let me see what other topics we have here. We're going to be talking about studio acquisitions. Okay, so this was an interesting one. There was a rumor that came from somewhere, I don't know where, some random person online that's claiming they have sources. You guys already know the deal. They're saying that Sony's going to be acquiring Square Enix over the next 2 years, and obviously that's kind of unbelievable, but it does lead to some interesting conversation. Could that actually happen? Would that happen? Does it make sense for something like that to happen? And if not, what's the most logical next step that Sony will make when it comes to studio acquisitions? I also want to talk a little bit more about Destruction All-Stars, as that's a game I've been playing. And yeah, we're going to be going over a lot in this podcast. So let's let me adjust this here and remove this. So there you go. Hopefully you can see me now. This is just some compilation footage that I have in the background for that's PlayStation and Xbox related. I did have some gameplay recorded, but I simply did not have enough time to process it, to be able to put it in the background. So we're just going to have to settle for this for now. I do apologize for that. But so he's bringing up, you're going to talk about CD Projekt Red getting hacked. I would, Tyson Webb, but the truth is, man, like, there's just not much to say. Like, is it surprising? I mean, honestly, like, is it surprising to anybody? When I read that, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, like, they pissed a lot of people off in a big way. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's justified. I heard that apparently the information that they stole was sold on the black market or the dark web or something. It was like auctioned off for like, what, like $7 million or something like that. It's pretty ridiculous, man. It's pretty ridiculous. So it sucks for them, but again, I can't say I'm surprised. So yeah, I want to start off with, talking about the whole PS5, Xbox Series X power struggle. And I know that this is like a topic that maybe to some people, it's just not interesting anymore. And I do agree that there is like, there is something here that it's, I guess the best way I can put it is, in my opinion, the PS5 already proved itself. Okay, the PS5 no longer needs to do anything to prove itself. Yet we have all of these guys coming out here acting as if because, oh man, Control has a better frame rate in, wait for it, photo mode. Suddenly, and I get it, it's a benchmark. I understand that. I understand what a benchmark is, but how is this relevant? You see what I'm saying? How is this relevant to the act of playing Control on the PS5 or the Xbox Series X? Oh, I know why it's relevant. It's because now Xbox fanboys can basically come out and say, hey, really, see, you're derailing me here. Microsoft just bought Techland and Dying Light 2. What's your opinion? What's your source for that? You're claiming that Microsoft bought Techland and Dying Light 2. What's your source for that? Ficus, I guess, is that, if that's your name? Because I'm pretty sure that they came out and denied that they're going to be acquired. Brett Williams, you're saying already a member, but wanted to leave a super chat as well because I know your family is going to need it. Sending love from Colorado. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, if any of you want to donate a super chat, you don't feel pressured to, obviously, but it does help. It does go a long way. It helps power the channel. It helps power the podcast, and it does help support me and my family, and it really does mean a lot. So thank you so much, man. But yeah, anyway, you guys are saying talk about the ZeniMax European Commission. What's your opinion? Would it go through? I think it's going to go through. Yeah, I think that any roadblocks that Microsoft may run into, they're going to find a way around it. So I wouldn't worry about that. But yeah, this whole power struggle thing, the whole photo mode control thing. Oh, now this is what Xbox fans can do. They can look at this benchmark that Digital Foundry kindly provided for us, and they can let us know, hey, see, look, the PS5 is holding back the Series X. See, this is proof. Developers like Remedy and many others, they're failing to truly tap into the potential. All of the features, all of the RDNA 2 features that, that apparently the Xbox Series X offers that the PS5 does not. And I find this notion to still be just as ridiculous as it was back then. At least back then, when we went over these conversations and these discussions, that the whole console war, who's going to have the more powerful console, at least then it was still kind of up in the air. You know what I mean? It was still kind of like in this area where it's like, well, these consoles aren't out yet, so we don't know for sure. So maybe it could happen. But now it's come out basically where like the PS5, now that the PS5 is holding its own, now that the PS5 has proven that, turns out, that extra 1.7 T-flops, those extra full RDNA 2 features that the Xbox Series X has, it turns out that it's not really doing much. It might in the future, but that's just it. It's moving the goalposts once again, and it's just frustrating because, it's like... And I don't mind talking about it. It's not like it's actually keeping me up at night. I just think it makes for some interesting conversation. I just think it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, look, here's the reality of the situation for Xbox fanboys. All right. Even if Remedy could get control, which I don't think they could, okay? That's another thing about this whole photo mode situation that people are failing to realize is that when in photo mode, and I could be wrong about this, but based off of what I've looked into, when in photo mode, CPU usage is being dramatically reduced, and there's when it comes to the overall IO throughput and the speed of the console, at which it can stream things in, it's not being put to the test. It's because it's a still image. You don't play photo mode. It's still using the GPU though, graphically. So it's like a GPU benchmark. And this is what I don't understand. Where it's like, okay, like we already knew, we've known literally for like almost a year at this point that the GPU inside the Series X is more powerful and more capable and has more compute units than in the PS5. But we've also established numerous times that it's not just about the GPU, which is why a GPU benchmark means literally nothing in the grand scheme of things. You cannot sit here and claim that Remedy is holding back control on the Series X and forcing it to be at parity with the PS5. You cannot do that, okay? Because it just doesn't make sense. If they could achieve it, I'm sure that they would have enabled it. However, I'm also not gonna deny that if they could achieve it, would it be wise of them to enable it, right? Or let's just give them the benefit of the doubt here, the Xbox fans. Let's just say that maybe that is the case. Maybe the Xbox Series X could in fact do significantly more in the fidelity mode than the PS5 with control. If Remedy knew this, would it be wise of them to do that? No, it wouldn't, because the reality of the situation is, and again, this is just playing devil's advocate here, the reality of the situation is more people are going to have PS5s, more people care about PlayStation than they do Xbox, and PlayStation is a much more popular, renowned brand than Xbox. So it would, and if you're a third-party developer, are you going to make Sony look bad? Are you going to do something to actively piss Sony fans off, to piss PlayStation owners off, to potentially piss Sony off? No, you're not. Again, that's playing devil's advocate, but it's not that simple. It never is. Yet when these guys see something like this, they try to make it seem like it's that simple. Even Digital Foundry said, like, hey, there's a chance that, if they basically ran Control on the Xbox Series X with an uncapped frame rate, there's a chance that we could see similar results where it could basically almost hit 60 frames per second with ray tracing, but we don't know. For all we know, they tried that and it didn't work at all. And it also doesn't take into account all of the other third-party games, right? Where we've seen basically the PS5 and the Xbox Series X going toe-to-toe in almost every area. Sometimes the Series X has a slight advantage. Other times the PS5 does. RA89, you're saying PS5, it's only dominating with stable frame rates because of the boosted clocks versus Xbox running games with PS5 settings and a lack of features. Well, let me ask you this, okay? If the Xbox Series X is running PS5 versions of games, why would that be? Why would they be running PS5 versions of their games? Because they're starting development on the PS5 because it's the easier console to develop for. See, that's something that a lot of people don't take into account, is just because Microsoft is offering these features, right, and they have all these extra bells and whistles, does not guarantee developers are going to be incentivized at all to take advantage of those features, especially knowing that their game has to work on the Series S, right? Especially knowing that their game has to work on all of these different platforms. See, this is where Sony did it smart, man. Sony did it smart. Sony realized that the most important thing to developers is going to be how easy is it to develop for this console. And there's something else that a lot of these guys are not taking into account that frustrates me. And that is, they make it sound like, oh, well, they're going to eventually take full advantage of the Series X. They're eventually going to take full advantage of all those bells and whistles, and there's going to still be that big performance delta in the future. And what blows my mind is, like, why do these people think that developers are not also going to extract more out of the PS5 hardware? Why do they think that the PS5 is they still believe it, man? They still believe that the PS5 is severely lacking. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The day may come where the Xbox Series X offers some advantages thanks to the full RDNA 2 set that you may or may not notice, right? But this idea that people want me to believe that, oh, well, the Xbox Series X could run Control at, native 4K with ray tracing very close to 60 FPS. Meanwhile, the PlayStation's going to struggle. Like, come on, like if they have to lower the ray tracing a little bit on the PS5 version, like who's going to give a shit? I mean, honestly, I have to be candid here. And I'm saying this as somebody who has been playing games with ray tracing enabled. Do you think I played Spider-Man Miles Morales with the ray tracing mode enabled? Absolutely not. Because every time I went into it, I'm like, I mean, yeah, that looks nice. Those are some nice reflections, but it turns out, guys, I don't really care that much about ray tracing. It's nice and it's fancy. But at the end of the day, like, I don't consider it something that's like necessary fully. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to make it sound like I wouldn't want ray tracing at 60 FPS. Of course I would. But at the same time, I'm not trying to make it sound like this is what's going to be, this is where the huge delta is going to come in. Like, come on. I don't know, man. People are just ridiculous. Like, this is the point we're at right now, where Xbox fanboys are so desperate for a win that they have to look at a goddamn photo mode, where a photo mode benchmark comparison and be like, ha, see, wait until you see what the Series X offers. Like, still, like, do you not understand the irony? You're still telling me to wait. Why am I waiting? What the hell am I waiting for? I'm not going to wait for shit. I'm going to turn on my PS5 and I'm going to play some great games. That's what I'm going to do. And you know what? I've been playing my PS5. The games look damn good. The games run damn good. And you know what? The Division 2 is not a game I'm playing on my PS5. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm just trying to have some fun here, obviously. It's not that serious at the end of the day, but this is just stuff that I run into on Twitter. And people are like, dude, don't engage. It's like, look, it's not that serious. Some people take it very seriously, but Spacebar is saying this power talk would be far more palpable if their first party was showcasing it. That's one of the big advantages of having great first party devs. Exactly. It's going to be really funny to me when, more third-party devs start to utilize the tools of the Series X maybe a little bit more. Because, look, I don't doubt that the Series X will eventually have some slight advantages. It should. Of all the bragging Microsoft did, all the bragging Xbox fanboys did, the whole world's most powerful console, 12 T-flops this, 12 T-flops that, full RDNA this, I better see a freaking advantage in some way at some point. Something that's actually demonstrable, right? Eventually. You're saying that moment when MLB 2021 runs best on Xbox Series X? Yeah, that would be a weird moment. I highly doubt that's going to happen. I doubt Sony would let that happen. It's interesting to think that Sony developers have Series X dev kits, right? Very, very interesting stuff. And you have to imagine they've had these dev kits for quite some time, or at least a little while now. So that would be a funny one. But, I'm just trying to say that, like, there's just a great sense of irony here that these Xbox fans, I'm not saying they have to constantly take an L. Okay, what I am saying is that we are not at that point where they can act like it's some kind of massive W. Like, I'm sorry, a photo mode win is a pretty desperate win. Okay, if the PS5 had this, I would acknowledge it and I'd be like, oh, well, look at that. Turns out honestly, if the PS5 outperformed the Series X in a GPU benchmark, we would have to talk about that, because at that point you have to scratch your head and wonder, wait, the PS5 GPU has 36 compute units. The Series X has 52. It's a bigger GPU in general. Like, how is this possible? Yeah, it would be a more interesting conversation. But the fact that the Series X GPU, the more powerful GPU, the thing that's giving it that extra 1.7 T-flop advantage, is doing what it's supposed to do in photo mode, shocking, right? Oh, man, who could have seen that coming? Like, it's unreal. It's not a... Primal Plasma, you're saying the Xbox Series X is like having a fancy Tesla car with no battery, useless. Yeah, that's a good thing to, somebody did mention earlier too, with the super chat, how it's like, what does this horsepower mean if your first party isn't going to showcase it? I have no doubt that Microsoft's first party is going to be showcasing what the hardware is capable of, but I also have no doubt that Sony's first party is going to potentially outdo that. I mean, I have the utmost confidence in Sony Studios. They are going to push the PS5 to its absolute limits. Do you not remember? Like, do these Xbox dudes not remember what The Last of Us Part 2 looked like? What Death Stranding looked like? What Ghost of Tsushima looked like? Especially The Last of Us Part 2. Like, Naughty Dog literally pushed that hardware to its max limit. Absolutely. And the fact that, like, people are still like, yeah, but photo mode win. Like, okay, man, you have fun with your photo mode win. I'm gonna go over here and enjoy some games and play them, you know, not in photo mode. It makes me laugh. It really does. Like, I think it is funny, you know, because I've seen how seriously people take it, and it's like they get all upset with me. They're like, but you do this and you don't say that. It's like, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to bow down and be like, oh man, look at that? Ubisoft screwed up the Division 2 on the PS5. Very obviously they screwed it up on the PS5. And Control has a photo mode win. Oh man, Series X, greatest console ever made. I don't know what I was thinking this whole time, thinking the PS5 could actually do something. Like, come on, get out of here with that. Tibero Mango, I'm sorry, I probably just butchered your name, buddy. I'll call you TM. Thank you for the donation, man. You're saying the photo mode test in Control just shows how balanced PS5 hardware is and how imbalanced the Series X is. Extra power that can not be reached. That could very well be it as well, man. Like, that's a whole nother avenue that people are not discussing, where it's like, look, I understand that the frame rate is dipping more on the PlayStation 5, but the PS5's greatest strength is not its brute force GPU, right? We all know this. Anybody who has been paying attention knows this. Its greatest strength is the IO throughput and the SSD, and what that and how it works in conjunction with the 36 compute unit GPU, how it works in conjunction with the CPU, right? With the RAM, with the memory. All these things have to work together cohesively, and they have to do so. You ready? Here's where it comes. They have to do so in an easy manner, in a simple manner. It shouldn't take developers years to be able to make that happen, okay? Sony's focus was on the removal of bottlenecks. And what you're going to see, what we have been, we're already seeing the damn results. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not seeing the same type of results in every case on the Series X. And it's all about, oh, well, developers have to get familiar with this. Oh, developers have to wrap their head around the tools. And once they do, and this and that, I'm done waiting. I don't care. If a year from now the Series X is doing great things for third-party games, you know, I do not care, because I'm not waiting. I'm playing now, and I'm looking forward. I'm not even looking forward. I'm experiencing the advantages right here, right now. That's the point, you know? Fire Dragon CK, you're saying 60 FPS over visuals, sort of like upscaled in native 4K. Upscaled can look almost as good if the right technique is used, like in God of War. Exactly. Dude, I just saw Digital Foundry's breakdown of God of War's new patch for the 60 FPS mode, and it's incredible. They're literally saying it's flawless. It's absolutely flawless. And I'm looking at that game, and I'm like, you know, like it running on the PS5, I'm like, geez, man, like this is what they could achieve on a 4.2 T-flop PS4 Pro. You know, granted, I mean, visually speaking, and yes, it had to run at 30 FPS. Now we're seeing it at 60 FPS. Like, what the hell are games going to look like a couple years from now on the PS5? Not that I'm waiting, right? Like, that's the point. I'm already seeing Demon's Souls, Miles Morales. Hell, even Destruction All-Stars looks pretty good. But looking at Ratchet and Clank, right? Looking at Returnal, visual showcase games right here, right now, you know, at launch, within a couple months from launch. Just imagine how much better it's going to look from now. Right now, Series X doesn't have that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It just doesn't have it. What, the medium? We're going to look at the medium. Is the medium the big visual showcase game? No. iSiler18, you're saying only time I used photo mode was for a trophy in Spider-Man. Useless feature for me personally. I know people love photo mode, and I have no problem with it. I think it's a perfectly fine feature. Like, I think it's great to have. However, I've never used it. I just don't use photo mode. Richard Ledbetter. Oh, man. You know, we have the Richard Ledbetter. Have you seen NX Gamer's breakdown? Its loads more accurate. Ironic coming from me. Yes, that is very ironic, Richard. I'll have to check it out. I know he does breakdowns. He's good at it. It's hard to keep up with all of this. Like, and that's the thing. And that's why sometimes I just try to cut through it. And I'm like, okay, bottom line, does Control play better on the Series X? No. Does it look better? No. Okay. You want to cry parity? Cry parity. I don't care. Okay? Developers don't care. Developers don't care about your tears about how, but Phil said this about the Series X and you guys aren't doing it. They don't care. The only thing developers care about is getting their damn game running as efficiently as it can, and they're going to start with the easiest to develop for hardware. That's the PS5. And then when they port it over to the Series X and they're, bringing it over there, and then they're like, oh, well, there's like all these different things. Should we take the extra development time to take full advantage of this? How many units is the Xbox selling? Where did the majority of our gamers play? Where are the majority of gamers going to be? You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay? And again, that's playing devil's advocate here. That's assuming that all these extra RDNA 2 features that all of these Xbox fanboys continue to claim, they continue to beat the drum, that you're going to see. You wait, you're going to see. Well, I'm waiting. Oh, the Division 2. Oh, man, it's blowing me away. Because Ubisoft clearly screwed up, clearly didn't do their job correctly with the PS5 version. Suddenly that means it's the PS5, right? The PS5. But you didn't say that about the Series X. Okay. Can we please go back? Can we please go back to Dirt 5? Go back to Dirt 5. Listen to what I said. Now, I did make it clear that yeah, this game running on the PS5 is better than on the Series X. I also said that, look, they made it clear that they're going to patch this. Same thing with Assassin's Creed, but that is not the damn point. The damn point is that if you need a patch for a console to meet what the other console, the weaker console, is doing, that's not the point. That's not what we were told. Again, it's the irony of it all. But yet people want to come to me and they're like, well, keep that same energy with the Series X. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? There's no energy. It's completely different energy altogether. And yet people are coming here acting like, oh, we were never told by Microsoft and its fans to expect, greatness on the Series X day one. We were not told that. Man, it's just people moving the damn goalposts, and you want me to take an L? I will take an L when it's worth taking a damn L. The Division 2, clearly, I mean, for God's sakes, it looks better on the PS4 Pro than it does the PS5. You want me to take an L and say, oh, I guess that just goes to show how much the PS5 hardware sucks, even though I've been playing multiple third-party games since launch and games with next-gen upgrades that look incredible. But yeah, it's the PS5 hardware. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It makes no damn sense. I'll take an L when there's actually an L worth taking. Richard Ledbetter. Yeah, check out NX's breakdown of Control. It's on IGN's channel. It's a definite L for Xbox. Yeah, I've been hearing apparently the game is it's like crashing or something on Control, or it's like running into some issues, Control on the Series X and PC, and it's like, these developers need to stop prioritizing development on the PS5. Why? You think, oh, it's a conspiracy. It's conspiracy time now, guys. Let's get our tinfoil hats on. It's because Sony's paying these developers. It's because Sony's in bed with all of these developers. It definitely isn't because Sony made it easier to develop for hardware. It's definitely not that. It's definitely them paying money behind the scenes. Come on. Like, do people really believe this stuff? If the Series X was the easier to develop for hardware, we would know. Okay, if the PS5 was such a pain to develop for, like we've been hearing, remember all those FUD rumors about how, remember Resident Evil 8? Who was it? I forget the name of the dude, but like he was claiming that, oh, they're struggling to get Resident Evil 8 running at 1080p 60 FPS on the PS5. I don't know. I just played the Resident Evil 8 demo the other night. Looked pretty damn good to me. Looked pretty 4K to me, 60 FPS. So I don't know. Is it a thing called optimization that has to happen before these games release? Yeah. Oh, but they're not optimizing enough for the Series X. Is that my problem? That's not my problem. That's another reason why I'm not ready to invest in Series X hardware, because I'm not stupid. I know that developers are not going to waste their damn time basically trying to take advantage of every little bell and whistle that the Series X offers. That's the job of Microsoft's first party. We haven't seen it yet. We're still waiting to see it from first party as well as third party. I mean, guys, these guys are out here celebrating a photo mode win and Ubisoft clearly making some kind of accidental error with the PS5 version of their next-gen upgrade for The Division 2. Okay? That's what they're celebrating. Is that what we've been waiting for? Oh, man, I swear. So let me get to these super chats. Josh Z. If I ever buy another Xbox, it'll be to use the developer mode and turn the console into an all-purpose retro emulator. Well, there you go. At least it has some kind of purpose for you, right? I mean, a lot of people are saying, like, dude, you should invest in a Series X on your channel. I think it would be good. And I plan to at some point, but what the hell am I going to play on my Series X right now? Like, I'm being dead, like the medium. I'm going to buy a $500 Series X for the medium. Yeah, no thanks. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait until there's actually a good reason to do so, because I do plan to invest in a Series X eventually. There are games, believe it or not, that Microsoft has in development that I am looking forward to. At this point, the Xbox fanboys are annoying me more than Microsoft is. Microsoft, they're just doing their own thing now. They haven't been talking about the power stuff anymore, which is very wise of them. But yet the Xbox fanboys, man, I feel like it's like all they have. I mean, hell, you can talk all you want about how Destruction All-Stars is weak and mediocre and this. I'm playing it for free on PlayStation Plus, but it is something, man. It is something, okay? I'm just saying, like I got that in February. I'm hoping Kenna Bridge of Spirits releases in March. I'm not sure. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit later. We have Returnal in April. We have Ratchet and Clank in June. We have Deathloop in May. I know I just went a little bit out of order there, but the point is we got games, good games, quality games each month. And if Destruction All-Stars is the weakest of the bunch, then I'm okay with that, man, because they gave it out for free for PS Plus owners. Not going to complain about that. Wendigo Rex, you're saying I have Control Ultimate Edition for the Series X and it crashes a lot. It's almost unplayable. Damn, if that is true, Wendigo Rex, that is pretty egregious. That is pretty unfortunate. MH, you're saying finally getting my PS5 next week. I will spend 0 time in photo mode. Yeah, are you sure, man? Are you sure you're going to be spending 0 time in photo mode? Because I was told that that's how games are played these days in 2021. So I don't know, man. You might be doing it wrong, but I'm happy to hear you're getting your PS5. Okay, Kapapa, you're saying the Division 2 patch, it is still running on backward compatibility mode on PS5. I believe Ubisoft did say that they're going to correct it, that they're going to fix the patch, or they're going to put out a patch to fix the issues that are currently there with the PS5 version. Because if you watch Digital Foundry's breakdown, if you look into it, you realize that literally, like, whoever was doing their job, like, literally didn't do their job. Like, they literally didn't do what they were supposed to do. Something went wrong. I would be hard pressed to believe it has anything to do with the PS5 hardware. Okay. I don't understand how anybody could think that when it's basically confirmed that it's literally running the PS4 Pro version of the game. Okay, like it's not actually the PS5 version. So that's not a next-gen upgrade. And so, again, if you want to run with that and say, well, that's because the Series X is easier to develop for. I mean, look, I won't lie. It can differ on an engine-by-engine basis. Maybe the engine that's running on the Snowdrop engine, I think, for the Division 2. Maybe that engine is just better optimized for Xbox hardware, maybe than it is for PlayStation. I don't know. I can't say for certain. It's a possibility. Again, this is just me looking into different avenues. But if you want me to believe that the PS5 basically isn't capable of matching what we're seeing with the Division 2 on the Series X, I'd say you're out of your damn mind. Like, you are, like, even the most hardcore Xbox fans I've seen basically come out and say, yeah, this is definitely Ubisoft screwing up, okay? Because it's egregious. It's not like, oh, it runs at a slightly less resolution. No, I mean, it's literally missing features that are there on the Pro version, okay? Like, it's a mistake on their part. Vincent, you're saying if PS5 can pump out more quality games this generation because it's easier to develop for, I'd take that any day over marginally better visuals. We'll see. Exactly. That's another thing, too. I talk about this, I feel like, every week, but it's because people, again, they continue to ignore the obvious decisions that Sony made for good reason. It's a when you talk about bringing a console to market, there's a lot of different aspects you have to weigh. That's one of the hardest things for these engineers as well as the people who make the final decisions. It's one of the hardest things for them to do is they have to determine like, okay, if we go with this, what is the con, right? So like, in Microsoft's development of the Series X, while they did opt for full RDNA 2 and they decided to wait for full RDNA 2, they decided to wait for the all new tool set. They decided to make sure that they could get the most powerful hardware. That was more important to them than getting this hardware in the hands of developers and making it as easy as possible to develop for. Okay, Sony was able to do this, but they were also able to prioritize in doing that I/O throughput, SSD speed, memory bandwidth, and how it's going to work in conjunction with the GPU and just removal of bottlenecks, all this stuff that ultimately will make it significantly easier to develop for most developers and most engines. And it is true that we're going to get PlayStation 5 titles at a cadence that we haven't really seen before. I am a big believer at this moment in time that the reason why we're seeing a slower rollout of PS5 games is not because they're not ready and they need more time in the oven to be fully finished and polished. I'm almost certain it's because Sony literally, they don't have PS5s to sell. So, for a game like Ratchet & Clank, let me ask you guys, chat, were you surprised to find out that it's releasing on June 11th? I was a little bit surprised by that personally because they said they were aiming for a PS5 launch window. And I mean, look, I'm going to say that most people do not look at June, considering this console launched in early November. I don't think June is still within the launch window for most people. To me, it's obvious, they want more PS5s out there. I'm positive, guys. I am positive that Ratchet & Clank is ready to go, but right now they're basically going to spend the next couple months just completely polishing this game to no end, just to remove everything. I mean, developers can always use more time, right? I'm not saying they can't use it. I'm saying would they actually need it, or is it possible that this game could release in April? I'm pretty sure it could, right? I'm pretty sure Returnal could launch right now. But Sony is desperately trying for these games that are not cross-gen to push them back, not by 6 months or anything, right? But okay, maybe if we could just push it back by a month, maybe if we can push it back by 2 months, we could probably sell a significant amount of PS5s in that time frame. And I'm sure that I'm positive that's why Sony is kind of trying to, balance some of these game releases out. Because if you think about it, guys, let me ask you, you really think, let's just assume, I can't use Horizon, okay? I can use Horizon, even though Horizon's cross-gen. You think Sony isn't going to set, that's a system seller game. I don't care if it's releasing on the PS4. That game is going to move a shit ton of PS5 units. So you think Sony wants to release that in July? Or would it be wiser to release it in September or October when the holiday season is in full swing and they most likely have millions more PS4s, 5s to sell? MBG is just a clueless fool, and all of these idiots believe him. Dude, no, I'm not clueless. I'm pretty sure that I'm speaking rationally. That's what I'm doing. I'm not claiming that what I'm saying is the definitive answer. Okay, that right there should give you an idea of how I'm not as clueless as you want to think. Okay, I'm not telling you that what I'm saying is the definitive answer. I'm just trying to speak rationally and practically. Okay, that's what I'm doing here. So when I say things like the Series X, there's nothing there that's that appealing. I'm not sure how anybody could see any, you basically, what you're trying to say is that I'm clueless for not believing Xbox fanboys. That's what you're telling me. Because that's pretty much all I'm saying. All I'm saying is these guys who want me to wait for that big performance delta, I should buckle in. I saw a comment on an Xbox centric channel. There was an Xbox centric YouTube channel I came across recently, and it was talking about the Xbox Series X and some upgrades that are coming and whatnot. It's always the same thing. The upgrades are coming. The upgrades are coming. Wait for the upgrades. That's fine. I don't care. If people enjoy consuming that content, more power to them. But what was fascinating to me is one of the top comments I saw was somebody said, I have no doubt in my mind that I made the right choice investing in the Xbox Series X this generation. And I like cringed so hard. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how could you feel that way, dude? Like, you're literally being told here to wait for more upgrades, to wait because you're eventually going to see it. Meanwhile, Microsoft is giving you the medium at best, right? They had no launch exclusives, 0 launch exclusives, okay? And most of the games that they have coming out this year exclusive to the Xbox, no one's excited for them. Halo, like if I were to ask the average person, the average gamer, what's the big Xbox game that Microsoft is releasing this year or that you're looking forward to? They're going to say Halo Infinite. No one's going to say Crossfire X. No one's going to say the medium. No, maybe Stalker 2 if that does come out. That does look pretty good. But still, that's another game where it's like, is it a timed exclusive? Oh, it is. Is the medium a timed exclusive? It is. These are all timed exclusives, you know? And it's just like, they're not really... Like, they're not going to be the games that take full advantage of the Series X, and there's just not a lot of hype surrounding them. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I get it. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy your Series X. I'm not saying, like, if that's really how you feel, like, you made the right choice investing in it, then that's fine. But I would just need to know the reason, man. Like, so, let's see. 2GS Germanic, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but you're saying, can Microsoft make any games that look as good as God of War? I'm sure they can, but you're going to have to wait. You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Oh, well, Hellblade 2 is going to look better than God of War. Where the hell is Hellblade 2? You know, they released another image recently, and that's it. And I'm like, I'm excited for that game, man. Like, I would buy a Series X for that game. Where's that game? Somebody's saying Xbox is the better buy. Good money, Nova. I mean, look, I'm open to hearing. I mean, look, the only thing I can rationalize in my head, okay, because, you know, apparently I'm clueless. The only reason why I feel like anybody would, like, honestly look at the Series X as the better buy is for a couple of different reasons. Like, if you really don't have any interest in any of the exclusive games that Sony has for the PS5 right now or coming to the PS5 in the near future, I totally get that. Like, that is a totally valid reason to be like, it's just not that appealing to me. But it's that, and maybe I can only assume that the marketing has worked on these individuals where they really do believe, well, you know, on paper, the Series X is more powerful. It has more T-flops. Microsoft told me it's full RDNA 2, and Sony said none of this. I mean, sure, Sony's just innovating with the DualSense controller. Oh, but stick drift. Dude, come on. How many people are really suffering from stick drift? Get out of here with that. You're going to use stick drift as a reason to basically downplay the innovation that was brought to the table with the DualSense. Get out of here with that. Just throw it out. Throw it out right now, all right? You're going to, you know, let's ignore the innovation there. Let's ignore the exclusive games. Let's ignore the fact that there have been multiple tests that have proven VG's fanboys levels increasing. Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, what am I saying that's so fanboyish? I'm literally pointing out, I'm basically just timelining what we have visually seen with our own two eyes. How is that fanboying? Because I am confused as to why anybody would walk away saying that the Series X is the better investment. How is it the better investment? Maybe because of Bethesda. I could understand that. If because maybe you do believe that Bethesda's games going forward will all be exclusive and you love Bethesda games, that makes sense, you know? It's just, but again, you're waiting. You're going to be waiting, man, like a long time. You know, we're not just, I mean, what you think Starfield's coming out this year? Dude, that's what makes me laugh the hardest. There are Xbox fans who genuinely believe not only that Starfield is going to be Series X and PC only, like it's exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, but they've actually, they drank enough Kool-Aid to convince themselves it's coming out this year. You are out of your mind if you think Starfield is coming out this year. You'll be lucky if you see that game holiday 2022. You can take that to the bank. I'm serious. Like, I don't need an inside source to know that. Okay. Um, Let me see here. So we have Sir Speaks a Lot. You're saying there's no point in arguing with them, MBG. They are just hopeless chimps trying to grasp at the plastic bananas on top of a tree. But bananas are herbs. Huh. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I get what you're saying, but I think you're right. I mean, it's not that I'm like arguing with them, right? Because I feel like you're entitled to your opinion. Like, dude, look, if you legit like you love your Xbox Series X, like you're sleeping with that thing at night in your bed, holding it tight, tucking it in, giving it a kiss goodnight, because you're just like this is it, man. This is the future of gaming, dude. Do you, man? Like, I'm not saying. Well, I mean, maybe there's something a little bit wrong with that, but. But I'm just saying, like, you're allowed to do that, If you like the idea of waiting for more upgrades, of waiting for games, if you are okay with that, then be okay with that. But do not come to me and make it sound like I'm clueless or I have no idea what I'm talking about or I'm just some radical, crazy fanboy. Dude, I'm sorry, but you're bringing some weak sauce to the table, man. That's all I'm saying. Fred Vance, I just want to know what these retailers are doing about scalpers to make the PS5 more accessible to everyone. Yeah, I apologize. I'm ranting about the whole power struggle thing when in reality, it's like most people are like, I don't care. I just want to buy one. Like, can I buy a damn console? Like, I have the money. I want to give you my money, but you won't let me give you my money. I don't know, man. I don't think retailers can do much. I mean, there is more they can do. I guess what I'm trying to say is I just don't think that they're going to do it. You a radical, MBG. MBG is an Xbox fanboy. Wow. I mean, dude, I'm getting some weird I'm getting some weird feedback here, guys. Primal Plasma, you're saying in television, Sega Master System, Genesis, every generation experiences denial. This has been happening since the beginning of consoles. That is true. That is true. That is very true. I guess we're just witnessing it again. History repeat itself. iSiler 18, Bethesda is great, but they take a very long time to make games. I will be 39 when Fallout 5 arrives and Skyrim released in 2011. Let that sink in. Yeah, dude. I'm going to speak to that in a second. The Hatsuma, you're saying all three manufacturers have been / being sued for pad defects. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It's like, come on, you're going to use that as some kind of friggin' like, well, the DualSense sucks because of stick drift. Like, dude, I've had stick drift on literally every console. Okay, I definitely feel bad for people where it's like, I have stick drift after using it for a week. Like, damn, you're really unlucky and you need to send that to Sony, and you should, look into doing something about that. But most people are not experiencing that. Hey, MBG, have you tried Days Gone on PS5 at 60 FPS? I haven't yet. I have a friend who has, though, and I've yet to ask him what he thinks of the performance, but I'm sure, I don't think he played Days Gone before. He just started on his PS5. So he might be taking that massive upgrade for advantage or taking it for granted. And I'll have to ask him his thoughts on that. I'll have to get back to you. Mr. Unknown, you're saying, I'm sure God of War Ragnarok will come out this year, MBG. If the game wasn't on track and was delayed to 2022, then I'm pretty sure Sony would say so. Dude, mark my words right now, man. Just as sure as I am that Starfield is absolutely not releasing in 2021. The most you'll probably get is maybe the first look at gameplay for Starfield. Just as I'm sure of that, I'm sure that if God of War Ragnarok gets delayed, as many people are anticipating it will, it's not because it won't be ready. It's because they don't have enough units to sell. And we don't know. I think a big determining factor, honestly, as to whether or not God of War Ragnarok comes out this year, because I mean, come on, can we all agree that Ragnarok is going to be the biggest system seller Sony releases? Come on, Ragnarok is going to be a bigger system seller than Horizon. It just is. I mean, the hype for God of War it's almost immeasurable, right? That's going to be their biggest system seller game. Sony knows this. They're not dumb. Like, they know this, obviously. And so I really think it comes down to whether or not it's a PS5 only game. Because Sony, while they do want to leverage sales of their games, like Sony cares very much about how many units Horizon and God of War sells, obviously, but what they also care about is leveraging these big titles to move units for them. And as long as manufacturing is a damn problem, as long as manufacturing these consoles is a problem, that's going to get in the way. That's going to alter Sony's plans. It just is. I know people don't want to hear that Because for people who are PS5 owners, like, I don't want to hear that God of War Ragnarok is going to get delayed because AMD is having trouble providing enough chipsets for Sony to produce enough consoles. I don't want to hear that, but that's just the reality, man. And Sony's going to give these games, as well as their new hardware, the best possible opportunity they can. You know, they might not. I mean, you know, it's hard to say, but I'm just thinking logically here. And so if it were to get delayed, I'm almost positive it's not because it isn't ready. They can say, oh, it's because it needs more time. They're going to say that, right? Like, just like they said it for Returnal. Like, you think Returnal really needed to be delayed? Come on. No, it didn't. I mean, I'm sure the extra polish is going to help, but it didn't. It needed to be delayed because there aren't PS5s to sell. And this is a PS5 only exclusive, man, being sold for $70. There's a reason why Ratchet & Clank is coming out in June and not April or May, you know? True Witty, you're saying sell PS5 on the PS4 store for true fans to get it easy. Yeah, I mean, Sony definitely has to look into what they're going to do with scalpers because, as long as the manufacturing, like what I'm starting to realize is that the biggest problem with these consoles isn't the power difference. It isn't the lack of games, as some people, you know, claim it is or whatever. It's not that. It's not the cross-gen stuff. It's something that, frankly, I didn't think would be the biggest problem, and that is, you know, dude, they can't make consoles. They can't make consoles, and it's what's scary is it's looking like they're not going to be able to make consoles for like another year. And I'm talking like an abundance of consoles. I'm talking like demand being through the roof. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but that's what's crazy to me is that I think, like, you know, as the scarcity situation worsens or continues to get worse, especially for the PS5, because I don't care what anybody says, the PS5 is much more in demand than the Series X is. And if you don't believe me, give it a year and you're going to see. You're going to see the difference start to unfold, just like we did with the PS4 and the Xbox One. Although I could see demand for Xbox skyrocket if Microsoft announces at any point in time that Bethesda's games are exclusive. Then I could see a big turnaround. But as long as that scarcity issue remains a problem and it continues to grow, so will scalping. And that's a problem for everybody involved. That is a problem for Sony. People think Sony doesn't care. Yes, they do. Sony wants people playing their damn consoles so they can buy games from the PlayStation Store, so they can subscribe to PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. Okay? They want people on the box playing it. They don't want people holding the boxes, for ransom, basically. True Witty, you're saying, don't put your rep on the line. MBG Bethesda shows gameplay a month or two before showing release date, then releasing. That's just how they do things. Well, look, I don't want anybody to walk away saying, well, MBG said because he heard it from a source. No, it's a prediction of mine, but I'm very confident in that prediction. I'm very confident in the prediction that Starfield will not release this year. If it did, I would be stunned. I would be shocked. Okay? I would also be doubly shocked if it didn't release on PS5. But apparently Sony was trying to get Starfield as a timed exclusive, so I have a feeling Starfield's going to be really good. I highly doubt Sony would try to get timed exclusive for Starfield. Sony may have got word, they may have heard through the grapevine that, oh, what's that? Microsoft's making a bid for Bethesda? Okay, we need to negotiate a contract right now, just like we did for Deathloop and what's the other one? Ghostwire Tokyo. We need to get this locked in as a timed exclusive. Welcome to the channel. We have a new member, Moish Lone Wolf. Hopefully Moish Lone Wolf. I don't know. I'm having trouble pronouncing people's names today, but thank you so much for becoming a member. Look forward to your exclusive perks. I really appreciate that direct support. We also have Darren. You're saying, hi, MBG. I'm a PlayStation guy, but picked up a Series X for Game Pass. It's handy during lockdown in the UK. Objectively, I prefer my PS5 as it feels next gen. And you know what, dude? Nothing wrong with that, right? Like, what people need to understand is a lot of the things I'm saying, they're not targeted towards, like, rational, practical thinking people who are like, well, ideally, I would like to have both consoles, right? Like, I plan to have both consoles. That's the best way to go about it, But if, the thing that just blows my mind are the people who constantly come at me and they're constantly making it sound like, dude, you're just taking constant L's. It's all about the power and look at how much better Xbox is. It's like, dude, look, I'm sorry. PlayStation's better. Like, I know that that's hard for some people to accept, but if we're talking about the literal act of picking up a damn controller and playing video games, I'm not talking about UI features. I'm not talking about storage. I'm not talking about whether you like the UI experience or not. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the act of playing games. PlayStation does it better. They've been doing it better for quite some time. I say this as someone who literally invested not everything I had, but my entire gaming life into Xbox for the Xbox One generation, and all I got in return were maybe a few solid games throughout that entire generation. But overall, it was, well, we care more about services. Here's the Xbox One X with Crackdown 3. You're going to love that. Got Terry Crews. And we're buying more studios, but it's going to be quite some time before we get those games out. In fact, it'll be not until next generation until we get those games out. So it's like, I can tell you, as somebody who has experienced both sides, PlayStation does it better, okay? Microsoft has the acquisition game on lockdown. When it comes to acquisitions, obviously Microsoft is doing it better. But if you want to know, like, who's delivering some great games, and then there's these people who are like, but Sony just makes the same games. Sony makes the same open world, third person over the shoulder action adventure. Like, please take that and just remove yourself from the conversation entirely, because you literally have no idea what you're talking about. Now, if that's your opinion, you're obviously entitled to it. But I can tell you right now that anybody who's played Horizon Zero Dawn, anybody who's played Days Gone, anybody who's played God of War, anybody who's played The Last of Us Part 2, okay, even anybody who's played, Bloodborne, these games are not all the same. You are out of your damn mind if you think that. Aesthetically, do some of them share some similarities? Of course. They're all third person. Yeah, some of them are open world. Of course, they all share some similarities. But does that make them not great games? I'm telling you, man. I'm just saying this because this is literally the shit that I see people like throw my way. Like, that's the best you got. That's the best you got. And people are like, but you're shilling for a company. No, I'm not, dude. Like, I'm a gamer and I'm looking to have the best. I'm a gamer with limited damn time. That's what I am. So when I do game, I'm looking to get the best possible experience. I'm also limited in how much money I can spend on gaming, which is a big reason why I'm not into PC gaming. Okay. Like, I'm not trying to go that level. All right. I'm looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, right? That rises to the top. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm sorry, dude, but like, anybody who's going to sit here and try to tell me that's Xbox, like, okay, maybe for you, but keep that away, man. Can it be Xbox? I hope it is, man. People are crazy. They're like, you want Xbox to fail. Like, no, I don't, dude. Like, no, I don't. What I want is I want to see Xbox bring out some damn bangers, just like I've seen Sony do it, man. People dude, when I was an Xbox hardcore fan, like I was like a hardcore Xbox fanboy in denial. Again, this is where I know what I'm talking about. I was there, man. I was there. And that's why I get so frustrated, because I see so many people still there. And people are like, dude, you have to buy a PlayStation 4 Pro. Like, you're crazy. Like, you need to play these games. Like, dude, you're out of your damn mind. And I'm like, maybe. And then eventually I did. And I was like, holy shit, I have been missing out more than I could have ever imagined. And, everybody's like, oh, you just did that for views. Yeah, because, I just knew. I just knew that playing The Last of Us many years later and saying how it blew my mind, I knew that would just skyrocket my channel, right? No, dude. PlayStation earned my damn respect. I mean, I grew up with PlayStation and I fell off for a little while. And to be honest, back in the day, when I was younger, I wasn't as into gaming as I am now. Definitely not. But it's just like they earned my respect, man. It wasn't through some superficial, artificial, like, oh, they're giving me the best deal. Like, no, it wasn't about getting the best deal. I mean, partially it is, because it's like if the PS4 Pro was $1,000 machine, me upgrading to that or buying that, investing in it probably have taken a lot longer, So it's not like price and value doesn't, and getting a good deal. It's not like that there isn't any room for that to exist. It's just, dude, like I just stuck around with Xbox for so long, and I was just getting tired of like waiting, man, and waiting. I waited for Sea of Thieves. I waited for State of Decay 2. I waited for Crackdown 3, and it's just like L after L after L. And I'm like, my God, like I can't do this anymore. This sucks. Like, this just straight up sucks. So I was, I rage quitted Xbox is what I did. Went to PlayStation, and they earned my respect like almost instantaneously because I'm like, damn, you guys are doing something over here. that those guys over there should be taking some damn notes. That's basically what happened. And yes, in case you're wondering, I had a lot of coffee. You're saying enjoy your censorship and monitored parties. Oh my, dude, that's what you're going to throw at me? My monitored parties. Look, I admit Sony had some hiccups with some censorship, and I acknowledge that when it happened. Haven't really heard much since, okay? But you're going to bring up monitored voice chats. Dude, okay, you know, when me and my friends are talking in voice chat, we say some weird stuff sometimes, and I can assure you that if our voice chats were monitored, I have one friend in particular that says some whack stuff, okay? If they were being monitored, his house would have been raided by now, all right? So take that, again, like, that's the argument you have. Enjoy your, you think Xbox isn't doing the same thing? You think Xbox isn't monitoring your voice chats? Oh my God. You guys need to learn a thing or two about these closed ecosystems. These companies have total control. Like, let me ask you, how many people are thoroughly reading through all of the agreements, right? Who actually reads all that stuff that they're saying? If you did, you'd probably realize very quickly, like, oh, okay, so they're just going to do whatever they want, basically. Yes, that's what you're agreeing to. You're using their platform. They're in control. They're going to do what they want, okay? Fred Vance. All I'm saying is that, like, you can't avoid it. You can, just don't agree to it and don't play on their platform. It's as simple as that. Fred Vance, you're saying if Microsoft offered the same gaming experience they did during the 360 era, they would boom in fan base. I agree. And maybe they'll get to that, you know, but it's like, how long, like, I mean, what do we have to wait a damn decade? Do you guys remember that insider? Again, like, I use the term insider loosely because you know, I don't know, you know, whether or not somebody actually has an inside track or whether they're doing good. By the way, guys, hit that like button. We have over 960 people here. We're almost at 350 likes. Let's see if we can get to 400, maybe 500 likes. That really helps the podcast out. So hit that like button. But I remember I covered it in this one video where this insider, apparently he has a really good track record. Like, he doesn't very often share inside, like, stuff. I forget his name. You know, I'm just kind of going off the top of my head here. But he basically was laying out the timeline of when some of these Bethesda games were supposed to, or, you know, planned to eventually release. And dude, we're looking literally like Elder Scrolls 6, like 2026, 2027. We're looking at Starfield like 2022, 2023. We're looking at Fallout 5 literally in the 2030s. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure why this guy who has a good track record, who has been correct about multiple things in the past, apparently, would put his reputation on the line in such a way by saying something that is so ridiculous that most people aren't going to believe it. So it makes me think, well, maybe it's because it's true. I mean, my God, could you imagine that? Could you imagine waiting till 2030 for Fallout 5? October's very own, you're saying, I missed waking up to Sunday mornings listening to your podcast. Glad to see you back, bro. By the way, we need a new Twisted Metal. OG PS fans deserve this. Yeah, dude, playing Destruction All-Stars, gotta wonder why. I mean, I know why, because it's like, oh, Destruction All-Stars, it's more inclusive and it's funner to the younger audience. It's more appealing to the younger audience, and I get that. But come on, let's do some Twisted Metal. What blows my mind about Destruction All-Stars real quick is that's a PS5 only title. So the people who have PS5s right now and they're playing them are the hardcore fan base. Do Twisted Metal first, man. Like, that's going to appeal to the more hardcore, loyal PlayStation fan base that has been here since the beginning, more so than a game like Destruction All-Stars. Am I wrong in that line of thinking? I don't think I am. D-Doc, you're saying Sony seized my firstborn son a few months back. Apparently, I agreed in the terms and conditions. Damn, dude, I'm sorry to hear that. Man, I got to be worried now, too. Like, what's going on? It's just... I kind of, like, went off the rails here when it comes to keeping in line with my topics. I do apologize, but can we talk for a second about that video that Richard Review Tech made? Like, my God, dude, this is the bullshit I have a problem with. People say I'm clickbait, okay? And I take offense to that, bro. Like, I literally take, because I'm like, look, I'm not going to lie. There are times where I maybe dive a little bit into the clickbait territory. It's like, oh, I want to spice this up a little bit because I feel like this is a spicy topic. But I notice my my comment section, and I noticed people like MBG, dude, you got to see this video. Like Richard Review Tech, he's calling he literally titled his video, "The PS5 is a half-baked mess." And I was like, damn, like that's a loaded frigging title, man. Like you're going to war with a title like that. Could you imagine if I made a video titled "The Xbox Series X is a half-baked mess"? Even if I said even as somebody who is a PlayStation centric YouTuber, if I said the PS5 is a half-baked mess, like I'm going to war with PS5 owners. Okay, that's what I'm doing with the title like that. And then he, I listened to the video, and it's like, I was shocked by two things. I was shocked by the fact you're saying it is a half-baked mess, though, Alex. Okay, I noticed you have the word Xbox in your profile picture. Alex, please explain to me why the PS5 is a half-baked mess. Sorry, I'm getting really distracted by people in the chat today. But like, dude, okay, so I was shocked by two things. Firstly, I was shocked by how many likes the video had compared to dislikes. I thought for sure, like, oh, this video is going to have, like, it's going to get ratioed or close to getting ratioed, right? Yeah, 12K likes, 2K dislikes. And I'm like, all right. So this must mean he's saying something pretty great here. Like, he's saying something that's like, okay, yeah, I got to agree with this. And there's just there's an inherent disconnect, okay? There's a disconnect with this idea that I'm going to call this console half-baked. That's implying that it's like a halfway finished console, that it's only doing half of the things it said it was going to do, right? Uhuru Beast, you're saying, I love Rich, but he lost me with that video. Yeah, like, that's the thing. I'm not trying to, like, go to war with Rich Review Tech. Like, dude, he's got almost 1 million subs, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, like, this was a video that like caught my attention as somebody who's like I'm a PlayStation enthusiast, been playing on my PS5 since day one, and like I'm always open to hearing criticisms from people about the PS5. But when I see something like that, I'm like, oh damn. You're saying that's not what it means. It just means that it's trash. It doesn't mean that it's not trash. It just means that it's not fully done. Well, of course. But let me ask you, Alex and everybody else, and Rich Review Tech, who the hell buys a brand new console day one, especially if you're somebody that's been in the game for a long time? And by being in the game, I mean you've been buying consoles for a long. Who expects a fully 100% locked down, like this is it, it's done? One of the things he said in his video that just blew my damn mind, and I gotta think, maybe you guys can help me. He kept using this one word that I keep forgetting. Is it unstable? Is it the word unstable? He kept referencing the PlayStation 5's UI, basically claiming it's like an unstable, because I thought he was saying unresponsive, but that's not what he was saying. He was saying it was unstable, right? I'm pretty sure that's the word he used. Somebody correct me if I'm, misquoting here. And I was just so like, what? Like, dude, that's just literally a lie. Like, that's literally a lie, man. Like, you can call the PS5 UI inconvenient. You can call it cumbersome. You can call it a step backwards. But you cannot call it unstable. Because, dude, I have been using this console not a single damn time. Not a single damn time has it ever come off as unstable to me. Nothing ever crashed. Nothing ever glitched. There hasn't even been a single hiccup. And that's one of the things I've appreciated about it, is even though I do have my own problems with the UI, there definitely needs to be some improvement there. I do like it, but there are just some things where it's like, who was thinking, like, this seems like a step backwards from the PS4, right? Like, where are the folders? Why is it so hard to find trophies? Why can't I just hold down the PlayStation button and shut the damn console off? Stuff like that, small stuff, right? But like, the console's been snappy, it's been fast, the store's been great. Because I do remember my time with the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. My God, that stuff would always lag. It would always freeze up, right? And I'm like, why? And I also listened to his other arguments where he was complaining about storage. And it's like, come on, man. Really? Really? Like, storage, we all know this, man. Literally, Sony came out and straight up told you how much storage you're going to get when you buy a PS5. And if you don't like it, don't buy it. They even told you you're going to have to wait a little while until we can deliver the new SSD drives that we approve to work inside the PS5. And to call the console half baked, what the fuck? I'm sorry, but what is going on, man? And again, what blows my mind is all the people just blindly agreeing. Like, this man is literally saying this console's half done and only works half the time, basically. And maybe he's just really unlucky. Maybe he got two PS5s that are just not working right. But I assure you, I have a PS5. I have a good friend who has a PS5. We've been playing these PS5s since day one. You're saying the storage is a major hassle, though, not going to lie. And I'm not saying it isn't. Dude, I've had to delete games myself. And I'm like, yeah, the storage capacity in the PS5, not ideal, man. Not ideal. Like, Sony, I get you had to cut costs, but this is rough. However, why don't we mention the fact that a game like Control, okay, a game like Control is taking advantage of the Kraken compression technique that the PS5 offers to get it down from almost 50 gigabytes, or not 50 gigabytes, like 43 gigabytes down to like 24 or 25 gigabytes. Now, I'm not saying that that makes up for the lack of hard drive space, but it certainly doesn't hurt, right? Like, if more games can do that, if more developers can utilize that technique, that's going to help, right? Like, nobody's talking about that. We're just going to talk about how I can't upgrade my storage yet. It is frustrating. I admit, yeah, it's like, Sony, come on, like, get a move on here. Let's get cracking. When we're going to be able to upgrade our storage, they're dead silent. But come on, man. Like, you could tell I didn't do a podcast last week with the amount of ranting I'm doing today. Nintendo Power, you're saying, bruh, don't bother with AlexBot. He's been stalking your videos with Xbox propaganda, making dysfunctional arguments about PS5 issues that have nothing to do with its games or design. Yeah, I mean, look, man. I understand that there's the yin and yang here. Okay, that's the way it always is. It's human nature. There's always going to be an opposition. There's always going to be a positive and a negative. You know, for every person that loves the PS5, there's going to be a person that despises the PS5. Okay, all I'm trying to say here is that we have to use our brains and think rationally and logically. I can admit I'm a human being just like everybody else. So occasionally logic and rationale just goes out the damn window and emotion takes over. But I try to ensure that that doesn't happen too often, okay? I try to make sure that if I'm going to talk about something, I'm going to try to make it sound rational. I'm going to try to have logical arguments or make them as logical as I can. And if I'm on the other side where it's like, dude, you sound like a jackass right now. Like, you have no clue what you're talking about, and enough people are saying this, I'll take a step back and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to reevaluate this. Maybe I need to, do a little bit more digging, do a little bit more research, hear some other opinions, But could you imagine if I made a video titled "The PS5 is a half-baked mess," complained about storage, complained about the PS5 UI being unresponsive, complained about a lack of games, basically, and just basically make it sound like Sony just rushed this thing out the door? One thing he did say that I can't agree with it to an extent is he was like, these consoles didn't have to come out yet. And it's like, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. I mean, I'm glad they did, and I'm glad I got one, but I can kind of understand that. Like, yeah, considering the production issues we're running into and the fact that a lot of games are unfortunately getting delayed and whatnot, but I'd argue Sony's doing a damn good job in not convincing people of that, right? They're trying to produce as many PS5s as they can. They're trying to, satiate the demand. And most importantly, they're trying their best to deliver games on like a month-to-month basis, but good games. Games that are actually decent and not just like thrown together crap, Dieter Ruse, you're saying decent MBG ranting. Wonder what would happen if we add some pre-workout to your coffee. Dude, I had to stop taking pre-workout. All right. I used to love pre-workout. Dude, I miss going to the gym, and I gotta hope, I hope that things can get back to normal eventually. Like, I don't want to go to a gym and wear a mask, honestly, because it's just too difficult. It makes it too difficult to push myself the way I want to. So I miss going to the gym, and I would take pre-workout, and it was great. But I'm a big lover of coffee, and anybody who takes pre-workouts, I mean, you can take pre-workout that doesn't have caffeine, but the two can become a little bit much, it can become difficult to sleep. Marcus Moore, you're saying Series X is literally nothing but a backwards compatibility console. The PS5 is a true next-gen console. Dude, I believe that. I'm a believer in that, man. Like, apparently Microsoft's going to announce like a big update to like backwards compatibility or something this week or whatever. And that's great. And I think what Sony did with, backwards compatibility on the PS5 is great. But dude, like, I am playing some last gen games, but that's not why I bought the PS5. I bought the PS5 for new games. I bought the PS5 to experience next gen. And the first game I'm going to experience, apparently, that's really trying to do stuff with the PS5 that can't be done with any other hardware right now on the market is Ratchet and Clank. And so by the time I bought the PS5 and Ratchet and Clank comes out, it'll be about 7 months. I think that's about exactly, like almost exactly 7 months, right? And in that time, I've had multiple PS5 exclusives in Demon's Souls Returnal, right? And if you want to count Destruction All-Stars, go ahead. I've had other exclusives like Miles Morales. Maybe we'll get Kenna Bridge of Spirits before then. We'll get Deathloop, right? And so I've only had to wait basically 7 months, and that's not a long wait. And I need it to be understood that when I use the word wait, I'm not using it in the same context as when I say Xbox is making you wait. Xbox is basically saying buy our console, no launch lineup. You get one game before then, or at least one game that's even worth mentioning, that being the Medium, that isn't even that great. And eventually you'll maybe get Halo Infinite down the line, right? That's not what, and we don't even know if Halo Infinite's going to take full advantage of the Series X, right? You would hope it would, right? But it's not the same, right? Like I'm waiting 7 months, and in that time I have all these great games to play, and a lot of these games are really taking significant advantage of the PS5. But then only 7 months in, only 7 months, I'm going to play a game where they decided this can only be PS5 because we're really doing some stuff here. And there's people that try to downplay it. We're like, that's not that impressive. That instantaneous teleporting to different worlds, please. You're going to tell me they can't get that on the PS4? Like, dude, these people are, look, you can be cynical, okay? But when I watch that Ratchet and Clank gameplay and I see that, I'm like, damn, I haven't really seen anything on that level. Like, I've seen tricks in the past. You see tricks that developers have tried to employ or deploy in previous generations to, like, give you the feeling of, oh, I'm teleporting. But this is like on another level, okay? And that's exciting to me. That is genuinely exciting to me. One thing that Insomniac said when they announced the release date of Ratchet and Clank this past week was, somebody was asking about whether it's going to be PS5 only or whatnot. And they were like, yeah, this is a PS5 only exclusive. And they said it multiple times. It's because they're taking advantage of that PS5 speed and IO throughput in a way that it just, like, it couldn't work on the PS4 without some serious redesign and workarounds, okay? Which tells me it probably couldn't work on any other hardware. Or maybe like a super, super high-end PC, but even then, like, you'd be hard-pressed. I don't want to speak to stuff I don't know, but I'm not sure if you could get a PC on the level of the PS5 with its speed and IO throughput. I'm not sure about that, but either way, I responded to them saying that, and I'm like, I'm pretty damn excited, man. Like, to see you guys trying to put out a game so soon that's actually trying to tap into that PS5 hardware. Everybody's like, oh, I bet you Ratchet and Clank could do that on the Series X. Here's my question, but will it? Will it? You coulda. It could, maybe. Who knows? But is Ratchet and Clank going to release? Is it going to release? You probably just heard the Xbox achievement sound. Where did that come from? Man, somebody must be playing on my Xbox. I'm getting a little nervous right now, guys. What's going on? Microsoft's trying to frame me right now. Danny Diablo, you're saying, hi, MBG. Just wanted to let you know that we love you and your rants. Thank you. Hope you're doing well now. Doing a lot better. Really am. Xbox fans are missing out on so many amazing games. Yeah, dude, like, that's what I'm saying. Is like, if you're an Xbox fan, be an Xbox fan, man. But dude, come over here to PlayStation. Like, you want to come over here too. Like, trust me, you are missing some great games. You really are. Like, you want to play these games. You're not going to regret it. I'm not saying you're going to love every single one of them, but there has to be something here for you. There has to be, whether it's Demon's Souls, Spider-Man, even Destruction All-Stars, if you're into that, Returnal coming up, Ratchet and Clank, Deathloop, and then beyond that, Horizon. Dude, come on. You got to experience some of these games. The 1B, 22,000, you're saying, until we see the geometry engine or the Xbox Series X version mesh shaders in use, any talk of power is irrelevant. Developers haven't even started using next-gen development techniques yet whatsoever. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I think the closest thing we're seeing is what Sony, and I specifically say Sony's first party because we haven't really seen anything from Microsoft's first party. I think the closest thing we're seeing right now is Sony's first party with games like Demon's Souls and upcoming games like Returnal. Well, Returnal's not technically first party, but Returnal visually and Ratchet and Clank. But I do agree, man. Like, it's pretty clear that right now developers are nose to the grindstone, like really tapping in to, really tapping into just a new level of hardware development, that we just haven't really seen before. And that does go for the Series X as well. But the whole point I'm trying to make is that like people want me to believe that the Series X is going to have like this massive like development advantage. And I'm just like, I don't believe you, insert Ron Burgundy meme. I don't believe you, if it happens, it happens, but I don't believe you. I really don't. Hold on one sec, guys. Gotta check something here. So yeah, we have True Whittier saying, heard Xbox guys asking for Ratchet and Clank on the Xbox Series X. And yeah, dude, can you blame them? Can you blame them? Ratchet and Clank looks amazing. It does. It really does. Ratchet and Clank looks really good. Like if I was Xbox only, I'd be like, man, what does Xbox have coming out in June? That looks anywhere near as good as Ratchet and Clank. Can we talk about, if anything, the Series S is holding back games on the Series X right now? Dude, thank you. Thank you. How the hell can anybody in their right mind claim that the PS5 is holding back the Series X when the Series S is a thing that exists? Do you see? Do you see what I have to deal with? This is the shit I have to read, okay? I have to have people come and say, yeah, I don't know about that PS5, man. That PS5, that thing is being held back, or that thing is holding back the god of console gaming that is the Series X. And they say, no mention of the Series S. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, did I like not hear something? Did I miss something? It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. I mean, dude, how many developers have to come out and basically confirm, like, yeah, the RAM in... Dude. Okay. So do you guys remember I don't remember how long ago the video was. I think it was like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, where I talked about a developer who came out and they specifically answered the question, the development differences between the X and the S, right? And he did confirm that, like, yeah, we can get the game running on both. One thing he said that, like, I was looking to see if Xbox fanboys were going to acknowledge this. And it's like, well, you're not reading the whole quote. No, you're not reading the whole quote, because one of the things and I'm paraphrasing here, but if you go back and check, you'll see that I'm correct. One of the things he explicitly said was he mentioned RAM. He said he basically acknowledged that the Xbox Series S has significantly less RAM. And when he talked about that, he was sure to mention that RAM is directly tied to the size of game worlds and how many things can be happening on screen at one time. RAM plays a huge part in that, a huge role. Therefore, he was implying, like straight up implying, that we could see the Series S essentially hold back the size of worlds and how much is going on screen at one time. Okay, like he literally implied that. I'm not saying that. I'm not claiming that. That's what he said. But they're like, but he said the Xbox Series S was good. No, what he said was that he thought he thinks that it was a good idea for Microsoft because of, you're saying, nah, not the size of worlds. Well, maybe he's wrong. He's one developer. But that's straight up what he said, It's, the point is this. If you think for a second that you can take the PlayStation 5 hardware and say, this is going to hold back next-gen game development, this is going to hold back the Series X, you are a jackass, because no, the Series S is good. Like, you want to talk about Control? Guess what? Control Ultimate Edition runs on the Series S. So if you want to talk about why it's being held back and they're not taking full advantage of the Series S, blame the damn S. Okay, if the S didn't exist and you wanted to blame the PS5, at least then you'd have more of a leg to stand on. But right now you have nothing to stand on because you're just not making sense. You're saying memory chips are 1 or 2 gigabytes and have a 32-bit bus. The Xbox Series X has 16 gigabytes on a 320-bit bus. How does 16 divide by 10? 320/32. 10. Well, look. The point is, I'm not a developer, and I'm not trying to claim that I know better than the developer. Like there have been developers who said that the Series S isn't going to get in the way. Maybe it won't. Like we have to see it in time. It is yet another one of those things where we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see what's going to happen. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is before you go pointing the finger at the PS5, point the finger at the Series S. Okay. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. I mean, I've heard developers say that it's not going to be a problem, and they explain in depth as to why. And then I've seen other developers explain in depth as to why it might be a problem. And developers are all different too. They all have different techniques. They all have a different level of understanding. They all have a different level of experience. So, look, I'm not here to tell you that for sure the Series S is going to hold back, the PS5 and the Series X. However, I'm nervous. That's all I'm saying. You can explain to me all day, every day, up, down, left, right, and center why it won't hold back any next-gen games. I need to see it to believe it. That's all I'm saying. So, it's also worth mentioning that when it comes to the Series S, we've seen multiple games. Can we talk about how the medium drops below HD resolution at some points when running on the Series S? Oh, but that's due to the this and that, and because the split screens and I don't care. I'm not playing a game that drops. You're saying I'm just being willfully ignorant. I don't know if you're talking to me or not, but you're probably not talking to me. I don't know, but I'm sorry. I'm not playing a game that's dropping below HD resolution on a next generation console. Not happening. Just not happening, dude. Like I have lines. I'm not saying visuals are everything. They're absolutely not, but I have my damn lines. You can keep it. You can keep it. Anyway, Hitman shows, you're saying, Alex, Hitman shows that it's not holding the Series X back. Well, then you can use that argument the other way as well. I guess Hitman also proves that the PS5 isn't holding back the Series X. So then what then? You see what I'm saying? It's like 1 week, oh, look, the Series X is flexing its power and it's showing what it's truly capable of. By that, it's just a slightly higher resolution. And hey, if that's what you like, that's what you like. That's something. That's something, right? But then the next week's like, but the PS5's holding control back. Like, okay, I don't, which is it? It's either being held back, it's not being held back. Or maybe there are just some developers that prioritize the Series X and most don't. Maybe there's that. I don't know. The 1B 22,000. People forget how important Mark Cerny is. He has been a figure in gaming for decades, from Sega to Sony. I believe him when he says the PS5, that the PS5 are capable and will change gaming overall, even on PC. Yeah, I mean, the risk what's fascinating about this generation of consoles is that Sony took a big risk, whether anybody knows it or not. Sony, and, so did Microsoft, basically. They both bet on different horses. And we are still too early to know, which was the right horse to bet on, and there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. It's as simple as that. But the thing about Sony and the risk they took, regardless of whether or not Sony wins in the long run, and I will always respect what they tried to do with the PS5, because if you pay attention, okay, if you pay attention to what Mark Cerny has said, to what the engineers of the PS5, to just their intent with the PS5, you will know that it's not just about raw power, okay? Sony does not believe that the future of gaming over the next 5 to 8 years is just about constant incremental power increase. That's not what Sony believes in. What Sony believes is that we need to find a way, because Sony's like, the power is going to increase no matter what. Look at the power increase from the PS4 Pro to the PS5. How substantial of an increase is that? It's huge. It's huge. Okay? No doubt about that. But when it comes to the, I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. When it comes to what the PS5 architecture as a whole could potentially allow for game development, and this is an area where Sony fans also have to wait alongside Xbox fans, okay? What it could potentially allow for is something, frankly, that we haven't seen yet. And it's up to developers. Like Mark Cerny literally said in multiple interviews. I remember his interview with the Washington Post. He says it's about letting the creators do what they want to do. You know? Here's another thing you have to consider. When Sony is developing the PlayStation 5 hardware and architecture, who are they referring to before anybody else? They're referring to their own first-party developers. Who are the most talented developers in the world? Many of Sony's first-party developers. So that's something else that people are not considering, where it's like you have some of the most talented developers in the industry and you're getting direct input as to what they think the future of game development is going to look like, and most importantly, what it should be and what Sony should be focusing on. This is why I'm telling you. You remember when Moore's Law is Dead said that the Series X is a server-based APU for xCloud? That was its main focus, more so than developers, more so than ease of development. It was a focus on how can we have the most powerful console and also make basically a server-based APU. I believe it. I believe it, man. Yeah, you're saying you can't wait for Unreal Engine 5 games. Yeah, let's just ignore the fact that, Epic Games, they own one of the most, prolific game engines out there. One of the most widely used game engines. Let's just ignore the fact that they went back and literally rewrote their code to work around the PS5 because I don't know if it was Mark Cerny. I don't know if they just saw what they were doing and they're like, oh shit, like this is the future. Yeah, like they got it. They got it. They know what the future, like they're doing it right. Okay, let me ask you, did Epic Games go back? What? That's right. Sony paid them to do that. I mean, that's not hugely risky. You're saying you're basing it off of Moore's Law is Dead, bro. I'm just saying, man, like the logic he brought to the table, whether it's true or not, it's sound logic. I mean, come on. Like, who's more at risk of building a server-based APU? Is it Sony or Microsoft? Come on, it's Microsoft. Like, it falls in line with them. Jamel, you're saying, honestly, it's not Sony versus Microsoft. It's Sony versus Nintendo. Microsoft hasn't been in competition since the 360. Powerful console and no games is always bad. Exactly, dude. Exactly. I'm just like, Epic Games didn't go back and rewrite the coding of their next generation engine for the Series X and for the Series S. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, people forget this. They just brush over this as if it's nothing. And when people like me bring it up, like, okay, you want to claim that, the Series X is all this and all that, and wait until we see developers. Why was Unreal Engine 5 rewritten for the PS5 specifically for that I/O throughput and that speed and that bandwidth? Oh, well, that's because Sony paid them. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure because Epic Games needs Sony's money. No, I don't think so, man. I think they're doing just fine. I don't think they need Sony's money. I think that Mark Cerny either convinced them or basically showed them, like, guys, like, this is this is what developers want. And when it comes to one of the things that Epic Games, as well as any other game engine, holder out there, and any company that's making a game engine, one of the things that they're looking to do is they're looking to innovate, is what I'm trying to say. The PS5 gives the best possible chance at that, thanks to its I/O throughput and its bandwidth. And you have a lot of Xbox guys who want to tell you that that's all just smoke and mirrors, that's all marketing BS, and that's what frustrates me because I'm like, I'm sorry, marketing bullshit, smoke and mirrors, really, coming from the people who were excited for the 12 T-flops of the Series X, coming from the people who constantly listen to Phil Spencer and Xbox saying the games are coming eventually, right? It gets frustrating because it's like you guys are literally just flat out wrong. Like you're just flat out straight up wrong. Chris B, you're saying Microsoft confirmed the Xbox Series X was a server APU at the Hot Chips conference. Moore's Law was just repeating. Yeah, there you go. See, there you go. I didn't even watch the Hot Chips conference because I didn't care enough. I'm like, whatever, you know? Like, I'm probably not going to understand a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, but that makes sense, you know? I went out of my way to really try to fully grasp and understand, because I'm not going to lie, like, when I first watched that Mark Cerny Road to PS5 in March of last year, I had, like, literally no clue what was talked about, okay? You know, all I could focus on was the T-flops because Microsoft conditioned me to focus on that. You see what I'm saying? So when they announced 10.2 T-flops or 3 T-flops, I was like, oh, man, like, wait, what? Like, I thought it was going to be 13. I thought it was going to be 12 or something, man. Like, what are you doing? And then after that, I started to do my research and I started to try to fully understand what's being said here, like what's going on. And once I started like getting a better grasp and understanding, it became very clear, you know, talk about marketing when Microsoft made an advert for Velocity Architecture. Dude, why do you think Microsoft was marketing Velocity Architecture? It's because they needed to combat Sony's marketing of the SSD speed, because Microsoft realizes that it actually matters. That Velocity Architecture advert, not just for consumers, okay? It's for developers as well. That's another thing that people don't understand, is that all these things that Microsoft and their fans are trying, and Xbox fans are trying to sell us on, developers have to be sold on it as well. Can we go back to the Dirt 5 developer who, when he was straight up, flat out asked, because it was all about the tools. Oh, the tools aren't ready. And once the tools are going to kick in, just wait until you see when the tools kick in. And he was straight up asked, like, somebody who developed the game on the Xbox Series X, you know, is the tool set not ready? You know, and he's like, no, it's fine. Like, the tools are fine. Like, they're there. Turns out developers just don't want to freaking use them. Why? I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong. You know, maybe in the end, Xbox Series X will just one day just wake up and just knock the PS5 out, knock PlayStation fans on their ass, and we'll just be like, whoa, like what just happened? But I don't know. I'm not waiting for that day. Anyway, I got a couple other topics we got to go over because I basically just spent almost this entire podcast ranting about that single thing. So here's something. Speaking of Ratchet and Clank, okay, and this is a controversial topic, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I don't have much to say about it because I have a simple solution to it, okay? The topic is $70 games or the price hike, okay? And I see this all the time. I want people to understand, first and foremost, if you are somebody who is against a $70 game because it's difficult for you to afford games, I understand, okay? I don't get sent games by Sony or anybody else. I have to buy all of my games. So I'm in the same boat as you, okay? I value my money, obviously, and I care about where it's going. So when I see a $70 game, I'm instinctively, even if it's a Sony exclusive, I'm instinctively going to evaluate it a little bit more intricately to determine. A great example of this is Destruction All-Stars. I literally would have not purchased Destruction All-Stars if it was $70. Okay, I would have literally made a video saying this is not worth $70. Sony, you're really screwing this up. You're making yourselves, you're not doing a good job in justifying that price hike. Okay. However, looking at a game like Ratchet and Clank, and I'm using Ratchet and Clank because this is the latest title where I've seen a pretty good amount of people basically saying it's like, I think it was on like pushsquare.com or something. Like I saw them, they put out like an article and they mentioned it. And I clicked on the article and I went to the comments, and like literally all of their comments over like Push Square, it was people basically saying that the game's not worth 70. It's like total, and this is like a PlayStation centric website, you know? And I was like really surprised. I was like, damn, like these people really don't like this $70 price hike. And I understand it's more in other regions. And I understand that if it's like, $80 or whatever your currency is, and it's like significantly more, I get that. Like you're saying Canada, it's $89 for Returnal. Dude, like I'm not arguing with, if you say I'm not buying Returnal for $89 damn dollars, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, yeah, I don't know that game's going to be worth that much. Like you would probably be best waiting You know what I mean? Like, wait, that's crazy. That's absurd. I wouldn't pay $80 for Returnal. I'd pay, I'm willing to pay 70 to give it a shot. And because, we could just keep arguing, oh, but it's just $10 here, $10 there, but there has to be a limit, right? Anyway, I've seen a lot of people are, complaining about the $70 price of Ratchet and Clank. And here's my solution, okay? Because I see a lot of conjecture surrounding this, and I get it. Like, I'm not advocating for higher prices. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, Sony, please increase the price of your games because I want to pay more money and give you more of my money. No, I'm not doing that. But I'm also not ignoring the fact that this is just something that's going to happen, okay? Like, price increases are nothing new, and it's long over. If you ask anybody who has any knowledge about the cost of making games, and all this stuff and how long games have been stuck at $60, they will all tell you the same thing. This is actually long overdue. And if you think the new norm going further into this generation across the board isn't going to be $70, you're crazy. You're crazy. Now, does that mean every game should be $70? Absolutely not. My solution to people is as simple as this. You're saying I'm still missing the point. I don't think I'm missing the point, man. Like, here's my point, okay? If you see a video game and you like what you see and you find out that it's $70, you should just take some time to evaluate for yourself. Don't listen to what other people say. Determine for yourself. Oh, all right, you weren't talking to me. It's hard to tell sometimes. Determine for yourself. Do you want to take 70 or more of your dollars and purchase this product? Does this seem worth it to you? And if it isn't, don't buy it. Crazy, right? I know that's a crazy solution to this crazy problem. Don't buy it. Wait 2 months, wait 3 months. Just have some patience. Before you know it, it'll probably be down to $50, maybe even $40. And if it's a game that most people believe isn't worth $70, you're going to see that price drop rapidly. Okay? Wait for a sale. That's all it is. And I know that there's just some people that don't like to hear that because they just believe that, well, no, the better solution is don't increase the price of games. That's just a stupid conversation to have because Sony is not going to come out and decide, you know what, we're sorry. We're going to go back to $60. No. The best you'll see, and this is why we do need to voice our concern, though. I'm not saying be dead silent. I'll just speak with your wallet. But a good example was, Godfall, right? Destruction All-Stars was going to be sold at launch for $70. Sony saw that literally nobody was pre-ordering this game. I'm talking like no one. And they immediately realized, yep, this isn't going to work. Like, we can't do that. Why would Sony sell a game like Destruction All-Stars at $70 at launch? I'll tell you why. It's because launch games are known to sell well no matter what. Launch games always do well. Okay, so they just kind of figured, well, if we release it at launch, it doesn't matter how much it is, it's going to sell well. But in this case, people were like, no, I'm not paying $70 for that. And that they realized how bad it was going to be when they decided to make it free on PlayStation Plus. Okay, so they saved themselves a big headache by doing that. But do I think annual sports games like Madden, NBA, etc. should be worth $70? Absolutely not. That's what I'm saying. Like, you think I'm not paying $70 for that garbage? I'm not paying for that at all. Like, these games are just microtransaction dumpster fires. Okay, I don't care how big of a fan of any sport I am. I'm not buying that shit. And frankly, other people shouldn't either. But they're going to sell. They're going to sell. And the reason why those games can easily sell well at $70 and people won't ask a question about it or bat an eye is because they're conditioned to do so. These are people who, like, they're okay with the microtransactions. They're okay with basically paying for the same exact game year in and year out. So that's why it's like $70 for Madden or $70 for Returnal. Is it really up for debate here? Okay. One's going to be certainly much more worth that $70 than the other. And so when I see a game like Ratchet and Clank and it's $70, like, it looks damn worth $70 to me. If maybe I'm wrong though, maybe I'll play Ratchet and Clank and I'll be like, damn, this game was really short, has very little replay value. Okay. And I think the big concern, the big one that people are worried about is Returnal. We talked about this, and I do agree. Like, I can understand, like, why, when looking at this game, why a lot of people, and even I question, like, is this going to be worth $70? I'll give it a chance because I think Housemarque is a solid studio. I think the game looks good. I think it looks fun. And I think it looks like it has a lot of potential to be great. But I am also kind of prepared, like, if I pay $70 for that game and I put like 20 hours into it, to be like, this isn't worth $70. Like, I beat the game after like 6 hours and I'm just basically replaying the same thing. If it's something like that, that's going to, Sony, that's where Sony has to be really careful. They have to be really careful. They are walking a fine line where it's like a game like Ratchet and Clank, I have no doubt is going to be worth $70. Demon's Souls was worth $70. Returnal, up in the air. Destruction All-Stars, absolutely not worth $70. A game like Deathloop, that's another good one. Like, I don't know if that's going to be worth $70. It looks like has the potential to be a solid single-player experience, and if it is, and it has, for me, it's more about quality. Like, I'm not worried about measuring a game's worth on hours. Like, I've seen some people say, like, oh, I measure it in like dollar per hour. So, like, if I'm going to pay $70 for a game, I need to have a solid 70 hours. Like, you're out of your mind, like, because you're not going to get that most of the time, especially with Sony's games. But if I pay $70 for a game like Ratchet and Clank, and you give me a solid, high quality 25 to 30 hours, whether that's, just the entire story being 25 to 30 hours, or maybe the story being like 15 to 20, and then I spend the next 10 hours, doing all the extra stuff and trophy hunting. That's great. That's fine to me. Like, that's perfect to me. Like, I don't need a game to be, oh, you're saying Deathloop is $53. Okay, I didn't know that. That's good then. All right. See, not every game's going to be, I'm assuming that's with PlayStation Plus, but not every game's going to be $70, Let me see. You're saying, like, when you said nobody should buy a console for Halo Infinite in one of your podcasts because you decide what people can do with their money. Really, MBG? No, dude, I'm not saying, like, that's what you need to understand. I'm not definitively telling anybody what they should or shouldn't do, even if it comes off that way. Everything I say is just a suggestion, So if I basically say you shouldn't buy, I don't think you should buy a console just for Halo Infinite, at least not right now, because Halo Infinite is a ways away from now. I don't think there's anything really wrong with that, If you want to, go ahead. But I just think that right now your money would be better off if you're able to find one, getting a PS5, because you're going to have many more games at your disposal to play. Then maybe later get an Xbox, or if you want, just buy an Xbox now and wait. I'm not telling people what they should or shouldn't do with their money. The only thing I am telling people to do is decide for themselves what they should or shouldn't do with their own money. That's all I'm trying to say. Halo is coming out this year. Yeah, I know it is. Resident Evil is only $60. Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, Sony, the only time I could see Sony going back on their $70 thing is if basically 2 or 3 years into the generation, like, most other publishers are selling their games at $60. Sony might be like, okay, I guess we should go back because no one else is going for this, but I don't see that happening. I just don't. I think, I think it's just important that each person basically evaluates for themselves and decides. Like, if you come to me and say, yeah, Ratchet and Clank definitely isn't worth $70 in my opinion, I'm not going to argue with you and be like, what? Yes, it is. You go buy that game right now. Like, no. Saying MBG, they won't go back to 60. No, probably not. Probably not. But, it's just a matter of like, hey, if you don't think it's worth it, it's not worth it. All right, guys, hit that like button because we're going to move on to the next topic. We're almost at 500 likes. I need you guys to hit that like button. We need to get more likes on the podcast because it helps out more than you know. So smash that like button, as I think most people like to say. I never understood the idea of smashing the like button. Like, does that get people more excited? Like, I'm not just going to press it. I'm going to smash it. I don't get it. Let me see here. Next topic in line. Okay, so this one I'm also not going to spend too much time on, but I think it's something just worth mentioning here. So studio acquisitions, there was a rumor that came out recently, And I got to tell you guys, like, I don't even want to call it a rumor because it just straight up seems like somebody on the internet saying something at a very quiet time that a lot of people got some people excited and riled up. There was an individual on Twitter, I don't have their name in front of me, but they basically said that there were, there's all these rumors about Final Fantasy VII and Square Enix and whatnot. And basically, Sony is going to acquire Square Enix over the course of the next 2 years. And, I put out a tweet where I said I could see Sony acquiring Square Enix. And I kind of regret that tweet because after putting more thought into it, I've kind of come to the conclusion that actually that doesn't make much sense. I couldn't see that. I think the reason why I say that, you're saying that my podcast didn't show up in your subscription feed again. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with YouTube, man. My podcasts have been failing to get good views these days, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know if they're showing up in people's feeds afterwards. If they're not, it would explain a lot. I've just been thinking things are pretty quiet. That's why there's not as many people tuning into the podcast or viewing the channel. It's kind of normal, but I guess, guys, let me know in the comments for those saying, no, it doesn't. Yeah, let me know in the comments when this is done. If it may take a couple hours because it has to buffer the stream, and then it should show up a couple hours later. So let me know. But, not only is it, I think, unrealistic for Sony to acquire Square Enix because of how expensive they are, I just think in my mind, it just makes a lot of sense because it's like, oh, Square Enix is so close to Sony. But here's why it doesn't make sense. And here's why I'm going to tell you that rumor has to be made up. Why would Sony... You're saying the dude on Twitter backtracked immediately. Yeah, I didn't follow it enough. But why would Sony, with any company that they have a really strong relationship with, feel the need to acquire them? The only reason I think Sony would ever panic buy a massive company, if they could even afford to do so, is if they thought that they were under threat of being acquired by competition. And I don't think Square Enix is going to be acquired by Microsoft or Amazon or anything like that. Saying Square Enix is not selling to Microsoft, Japanese companies just sell to Japanese. Yeah, I've heard about that. I'm not too familiar with those rules, or if that's like a tradition or a rule or whatever, but it just doesn't make any sense because it's like Sony has Square Enix on lock, man. Like, they are tight with the Final Fantasy games and a lot of their other games. They have Project Athia, which is a massive new IP that looks incredible, being developed exclusively for the PlayStation 5. And, oh, I know people are like, oh, it's a timed exclusive. It's a timed exclusive for 2 damn years. Who the hell is going to, if they're excited for... it's weird to me because it's like, why wouldn't you just make it a full exclusive? I guess they just don't want to be locked in forever, but, it is what it is. But who the hell would wait 2 years to play a game that they're excited for? Like, if you see Project Athia and you're on Xbox, you're like, oh, I'll just wait 2 years. Like, what? Like, that's crazy. A year, I can kind of understand. One interesting rumor that was going around that it's not necessarily about a studio acquisition, but I do find it interesting is the idea that Final Fantasy VII Remake is not coming to Xbox. Now, this was a rumor from an individual named Navtra on Reset Error, who apparently, like, they have an inside track with some of this stuff. And he was basically saying that his information is like 8 months old. So that's why I believe him, because he's like being honest about it. Because a lot could change in 8 months, maybe 8 months ago, there was no talk about Xbox version, but now there is. But one thing he also didn't make clear, as far as I know, is whether or not he's just talking about an Xbox Series X enhanced version or an Xbox version in general. It almost seemed like he was implying that the PS5 is going to get an enhanced version, like Ultimate Edition of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Final Fantasy VII Remake may come to Xbox One, but it's not going to have like that Series X edition, which is weird and would be interesting as well, though. So I will say, if Sony basically keeps Final Fantasy VII Remake off of Xbox, that's a big win for them. I think some Xbox fans are going to be really upset, but that's definitely pretty big. And also, yeah, Final Fantasy 16 being exclusive to the PS5. I mean, come on, man. Like, I don't think Sony needs to acquire a mega game company. I just don't think they do. I think the only thing that Sony is paying close attention to right now is what Microsoft is going to do with Bethesda games. Because let's be honest, Microsoft has basically proven that they will buy anything and everything if they want to. They can afford to do so. They can afford to basically buy the entire gaming industry if they wanted. Okay, that is something that has to be feared in the long run, because I think what Sony is basically paying attention to right now is whether or not Microsoft is going to withhold Bethesda games, because Bethesda will eventually have a lot of big games coming to the Xbox platform. Games like Elder Scrolls 6, which is going to be massive, the next Fallout games, Starfield and Doom, many others, right? And some of these games are massive sellers, dude. Like, think about how much the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to sell. And if Microsoft decides that that's not releasing on the PlayStation Store, that does hurt Sony's bottom line, because that is a game. And this also kind of applies to all of their other big seller games. This is a game that would have made Sony a crap ton of money that now they're making $0 off of, because Microsoft is keeping it on their ecosystem only. Now, maybe Sony can be like, whatever, they can keep Bethesda's games. But then what happens when Microsoft buys another massive studio like WB Games or Capcom or Ubisoft, and then they do the same thing? And then before you know it, suddenly Sony's not getting any more Ubisoft games, or they're not getting any more WB games. The amount of money that Sony would lose because of that, because of these games not being sold on the PlayStation Store, that is something that I think in the long run is something that Sony has to be concerned about. Because how would they fight that? The only way they could fight that is, well, we have to, we have to try to acquire one of these big companies any way we can, right? So essentially, in the long run, depending on how much of a spending spree Microsoft might want to go on, because if there's one thing Microsoft can never take away from Sony is their first party, right? And you could argue that Sony will survive just fine with just their first party alone, but come on. I mean, people buy PlayStation consoles for both. That's just the reality. People buy it because they know they can get the great first party games and the third parties, the big third party games as well. So Sony could eventually in the long run potentially be at Microsoft's mercy, depending on how much of a spending spree they go on, and other companies like Amazon and whoever else. iSiler18, you're saying timed exclusives are very effective, even if it's just a year. The majority of people that wanted to play it already did. I agree. I don't know many people who are willing to wait a year for a game that they actually want to play. 6 months, maybe a year is, I think that's like pushing it, So, when it comes to Sony's strategy, though, honestly, I think it's very obvious that Sony, let me tell you what Sony's good at. There's a point where the government would step in. Yeah, I agree. Like, you look at even what Microsoft did with Bethesda, that's such a big deal where it's like, they have to go through all these processes to confirm, like, can we do this? Is this legal? So you are right about that, Plasmic H. The government didn't step in with Disney. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. It is concerning. I think basically right now Sony is looking at Microsoft the same way we are, where it's like, so about those Bethesda games coming to PlayStation. And I think, Microsoft will eventually make it clear that, yeah, they're coming to PlayStation or they're not. And then we'll know. And I think that will determine like how sweaty and worried Sony may become. Because let's be honest, Sony simply cannot. They don't even hold a candle to the amount of money Microsoft has to spend. Okay, they just don't. And that's where, yeah, the government, I think, would have to, if Microsoft just went crazy and they're like, we're buying everybody, the government would probably have to be like, whoa, like that's not how this is going to work. You can't just monopolize like that. But some of these mega companies, though, they do get away with some shit, man. That's like, not sure how that's working out. Thought that wasn't allowed to happen, but I say Hit. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but you're saying I think Microsoft might go after WB or Capcom because they want another Killer Instinct and they need someone to make it. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I don't want to see any more of these big gaming companies bought up. I don't want Sony to buy them. I don't want Microsoft to buy them. I want them to just stay where the hell they are. And I would like to see both Sony and Microsoft just buy more independent, smaller studios or medium-sized studios. And so talking about Sony's strategy, I mean, guys, Sony is very good at something that Microsoft is not very good at. Do you want to know what that is? And I would argue it is their greatest strength by a mile. Sony is very good at buying these studios that are relatively unknown. They're not really big. They have potential. Look at Naughty Dog, look at Sucker Punch, look at Guerrilla Games. Think about when Sony bought these studios. Sony bought these studios before they were the massive juggernaut studios they are today, but Sony basically bought them and helped them grow into those studios. And it did take some time, but at the same time, was it worth it? Hell yeah, it was worth it. And Sony has done that for the majority of their studios, and they're still doing it. Look at what they're doing with Bend. I reference it all the time. Sony letting Bend make a full AAA PS4 exclusive game, giving them the funding for that. The game was a success in most rights, and they're probably greenlight a sequel that's going to be even bigger. That's organic growth internally. So Sony is not going to do these big acquisitions. I think what Sony's going to do is be very, very precise and very articulate about what they're going to do with studio acquisitions. And I think that the next studio that I would frankly be baffled, legitimately baffled, if they didn't acquire them is Bluepoint. Sony absolutely needs to buy Bluepoint because here's the thing. You buy Bluepoint games, and not only does it just make sense because it's like, well, they've worked closely with you in the past, just like Insomniac. They've produced many successful titles for you in the past, just like Insomniac. So that alone makes it worth the purchase. But here's what Sony will do, and here's why Sony will purchase a studio like Bluepoint. Bluepoint's not the biggest studio. They're far from it. They certainly have talent, but they're not going to be spending like $1 billion on Bluepoint. They're not going to be spending like $2 billion on Bluepoint. Look at how much Sony got Insomniac games for, $229 million. Absolute steal of the century there, okay? So they buy Bluepoint at a lower price, and they say, okay, Bluepoint, you are very good at remaking games. And we have a massive back catalog of games that could definitely use some remaking. So then they let them remake a couple games, maybe Metal Gear Solid if they can get it from Konami, or just something else, maybe Jack and Daxter, whatever, whatever people want. Twisted Metal. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Just they remake games, a couple games under Sony throughout the course of this generation. And then the day comes where like, you know what, Bluepoint, you've been growing. You're a much bigger studio now. You've done great work. Maybe Bluepoint goes to Sony and they're like, look, we want to make a new IP. We want to test our hand at making a new IP, something original. And then they put out a new IP and Sony says, okay, we'll let you take that risk. Here's funding for a AAA IP. Let's see what you can do. And then Bluepoint took everything they learned in remaking all of these different games. They make their own original game and it's a huge success. And then before you know it, there's a new franchise that just spawned organically. They didn't have to go buy, a massive gaming company. That's what Sony does. That's what Sony does. And Microsoft is doing it too. I'm not trying to make it sound like Microsoft isn't doing that at all, but Microsoft seems to struggle in doing it in a way that's as successful as Sony has done it in the past and continues to do it. So I think Microsoft's more of like, okay, we'll buy some smaller studios and try to grow them. And at worst, we could just keep them as like Game Pass filler studios, because that's something that Microsoft can actually justify. And at best, we grow them into much bigger studios that are much more successful than they originally were. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen with Sony. I think that they're just going to stay the course. I don't think Sony feels much pressure right now, but I think they are certainly paying attention as to whether or not, a large chunk of games are eventually going to be removed for sale on their store. I think that is something that Sony will be paying attention to. So, all right, let me see here. Let's see if we have any more topics that are worth discussing. I would talk a little bit more about the whole scarcity situation, but I feel like I've talked about that to death. I don't have much more to say on it. It sucks. It just seems like we're going to have to wait. I think it's a terrifying prospect that we may have to wait until 2022 before these consoles are just easily available to everybody and on store shelves, and you can just go on Amazon, you can just go into a store and buy one. That's kind of scary to me because of how it may impact game development or next gen game development. So I want to close out this podcast by talking a little bit about Destruction All Stars. I'm not going to spend like too much time on it, but I do have a couple things to say. I did do a review of Destruction All Stars, and unfortunately, it seems like not many people are interested in it. I don't know if that's just because I don't review games very often, and there's just a general lack of interest in game reviews on my channel. I thought because it was a PS5 exclusive, it would have done better, but I think it might just be because there's just a general lack of interest in Destruction All Stars. But I just want to say, because when I made that, I put a lot more time into Destruction All Stars than I did when I made my review, and I was pretty harsh on it in my review. And most of what I said still stands. However, I don't know if like they upgraded the netcode or they fixed some issues or something, or maybe I just got good at the game. I don't know. But I've been trying to get trophies for it, and in doing so, I've been learning, the ins and outs. Like there's a little bit of nuance to the game that is there that I wasn't totally familiar with, like I wasn't fully aware of, and I was having a difficult time mastering it. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at it. I think I'm like ranked like 65 or something in the game. And I guess I just want to say that it's definitely a little bit better than I made it sound in my review. And maybe that's just because I should have just waited a while before playing. Is it worth $70? Absolutely not. I feel like if this game's going to be sold, it has to be like a $30 title at max, man. You can't go past $30 with a game like Destruction All Stars. It is lacking content, but overall for a game that was given to me for free on PlayStation Plus, it's turning out to be better than I expected. Like I thought I would be completely done playing it by now. I've gotten much better at it. There's just a lot of games where I'm like dominating and just doing good, and it makes me feel good, I guess, because of that. So I'm also trophy hunting. If I do end up getting the platinum for the game, which it's turning out to be a kind of a pain in the ass to do so, and I'm not going to lie, that's a big driving force as to why I'm still playing it. I highly doubt I'm going to continue to play it. Maybe when it gets like updates and new content, but I think maybe Lucid Games should be given the opportunity to try to make a Twisted Metal. I think that would be interesting. But Twisted Metal is more of a darker game, and it seems like Sony wanted something a little bit more. Since it's a game as a service title, they wanted something a little bit more colorful, a little bit more bombastic and over the top. So yeah, I think I did about as much ranting in this podcast that I could possibly do, and I'm not trying to claim that I am the all knowledgeable MBG and everything I say is 100% correct, but I have my own opinions, and I have no problem sharing those opinions. And I just, I appreciate you guys being here and hanging out with me and hearing me rant. I really got to get a move on. At some point, I plan to get some Rant Juice merch. I don't know if that's something people will be interested in. You got to just kind of put your feelers out there with this stuff. Take a chance. But before I end this podcast, there is one last thing I got to talk about. Give me a second to find it here. Okay, so it has to do with Dying Light being acquired. So Dead Island and Dying Light studio Techland found itself denying rumors of an impending acquisition yet again over the weekend. Since last year, rumors have been swirling that Microsoft is eyeing Polish and Japanese studios while it's on its shopping spree to address its scant first-party portfolio. Techland was rumored to be one such studio. However, the company released a statement back in May 2020 to clarify that it's not in any kind of acquisition talks. While a future Techland... Wait, hold on. So is this... Hold on. So it's saying this was... Okay, it says over the weekend, a random tweet... I totally missed this paragraph. Over the weekend, a random tweet by an Xbox podcast host started making the rounds in which he claimed, apparently, that he was fairly certain that Microsoft was in talks to acquire Techland and make Dying Light 2 Xbox exclusive. I saw a certain individual even make a video on this, basically talking about it as if it was definitive. And I get it, there's not a lot going on. So if I heard a rumor, I guess, well, to be fair, I didn't make that rumor on the Square Enix acquisition. I could have, but I didn't because I just thought I don't believe it. But apparently the Techland's community manager released the following statement over the weekend. I'm getting a lot of DMs about Dying Light acquisition, so I'll answer here. There was the same rumor floating around the internet 1 year ago, and the situation didn't change. Techland is an independent studio and was not acquired by another publisher. There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. So anyway, my son is upstairs. He seems to be getting a little bit upset, so I'm going to have to call it a podcast here. And before I go, I just want to extend a massive thank you to you guys. It really is crazy that, you guys show the support you do on the videos, and then you come here each week. You listen to me lose my damn mind. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out, though. And for anybody who's listening after the fact, I appreciate, even the people who don't agree with everything I say. Obviously, I appreciate you being here as well. I appreciate the super chats, appreciate my members, appreciate just all of the support, especially the past couple weeks you guys have been showing. So things seem to still, I don't know. One last question I do want to ask you guys, just because I want to know if it's just me or not. Does it seem like things have become super quiet in the gaming industry? Like there's just this energy that's lacking here in January and February and potentially going into March that was there last year. It's just not here this year. I don't know if it's just me, but it just seems like there's just so little going on. There's little excitement and things are just so quiet. And I'm just patiently waiting, for maybe the quiet before the storm. That's what I hope. I think it's relatively normal during this time of the year, but I'm hoping it picks up sooner rather than later because, you guys are saying it's because of CV. I can't say that word on YouTube because they demonetize your video if you do, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I think that's a big reason why as well. So we will see. We will see what happens, guys. But you're saying the energy died when the game stopped coming. Yeah, it seems like game releases are not really going to pick up until maybe April and May. And hopefully when that happens, there's also going to be some new events, some new things going on. So yeah, that's another thing too. I've been waiting for a new event to live stream or something, and there's just nothing going on, man. So it is what it is. I guess it's to be expected. We are still in the middle of a gaming pandemic, a global pandemic that is affecting the gaming industry. So anyway, I keep going on here. I'm losing my damn mind. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for the podcast. That's episode 48. In the books. I'll be back same time, same place. Hopefully, nothing gets in the way. Next Sundays, we'll have episode 49. So, all right, guys, hit the like button. And until next time, take care.